known as the god of death of Konoha. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 326, Shadow Nail Technique. Do you remember what I said? Bai Yu put his hands behind his back and looked at Naruto and said, I remember, but there are still many things I can't understand. Naruto frowned and said, it doesn't matter if you can't understand it, remember it and slowly comprehend it. If you can comprehend it all at once, then I don't have to mess around. Bai Yu said calmly. Yes, Teacher Bai Yu. Naruto said very straightforwardly. Okay, next. You saw the secret techniques you know to attack me. Bai Yu said calmly. Naruto nodded, without any nonsense, and did not remind Bai Yu arrogantly, because Naruto knew that with Bai Yu's current strength, let alone hurting Bai Yu, even if he could make Bai Yu's face change, it would be enough to be proud. Naruto made seals with both hands. Naruto squatted quickly, and his shadow quickly extended to Bai Yu's shadow. When the shadows were connected, Bai Yu felt that his feet were imprisoned, and that kind of imprisonment was as if he was being dragged by someone. The shadow imitation technique was successful, Naruto said in his heart. However, Bai Yu broke free from the shadow with a little effort. A shadow bounced off Bai Yu's shadow, and Naruto's eyes showed a trace of bitterness. Was he so easily broken free? Teacher Bai Yu's strength is really amazing. Naruto thought to himself. Teacher Bai Yu, I only know this trick now. Naruto said awkwardly, while touching the back of his head. Bai Yu was slightly stunned. Yes, Naruto is still young. Bai Yu smiled, waved his hand, and didn't say anything. He fell into deep thought. Naruto didn't disturb Bai Yu. Naruto still had this kind of look. Bai Yu recalled the movement of Naruto's body chakra when he just made a seal, recalled the hand seal that Naruto made just now, and then recalled the movement and changes in the surrounding space when Naruto performed the secret technique just now. Gradually closing his eyes, Bai Yu began to analyze quickly in his mind. After a long time, Bai Yu suddenly opened his eyes, and his hands were very crisp, directly freezing into Naruto's last hand seal. Shadow imitation technique. Bai Yu whispered. Unlike Naruto, it did not have an obvious offensive effect. In an instant, Naruto was immobilized. Naruto was horrified, because Naruto clearly felt the sense of confinement behind him, and his shadow was clearly in front of him. Release. Bai Yu whispered. The sense of confinement on Naruto suddenly disappeared. Teacher Bai Yu, how did you do it? Normally, this is impossible. Naruto was excited. He quickly grabbed Bai Yu's hand and said excitedly, normally it is impossible. But for me, it is very possible. Bai Yu said with a smile. Don't worry, I will teach you now. How is your perception? Bai Yu asked. My perception is okay. Naruto said unconfidently. The shadow is invisible but tangible. But the invisible blade is the most deadly. Just now, I felt the changes in the surrounding space after you performed the ninjutsu, learned your secret technique, and then improved it. Create something out of nothing, and perform the shadow binding technique. Bai Yu explained. Thanks to you and use thoughts for the inspiration. Bai Yu's words simply overturned all of Naruto's perceptions. After creating something out of nothing, isn't the shadow only produced by the sun's shining? Naruto was stunned. Do you think that shadows can only exist because of light and refraction? Then you think about how to create something out of nothing? Bai Yu asked with a smile. Yes, Teacher Bai Yu. Although you just did it, I can be sure of this, but I'm still confused and can't figure it out. Naruto said with extremely confused eyes. Calm down. If you can't calm down, you can't think effectively. The world we live in is like one, but one can be divided into countless small ones. In one, I compare the space in front of you to 1A, and the space behind you to 1B. Use mental power to overlap the two spaces, connect the two spaces from 1A and B, and achieve spatial overlap, so the distance is equivalent to no distance. But to do this, you still need to work hard. Bai Yu explained in detail. The so-called close distance, shrinking the earth into an inch, should be this principle! Exclamation mark. Bai Yu thought to himself. Shikamaru is like seeing a new world. His eyes are full of contemplation that can't stop. Moreover, his face is anxious, confused, and his eyes light up, but then he is confused again. Bai Yu didn't know what to say when he saw this, because this is a problem of understanding. Dad, my third sister and I are back. It was not until the sun set, and Bai Ying and Bai Heo, who had been out playing for a day, came back that Bai Yu realized that so much time had passed. Shh. Bai Yu quickly made a silent gesture to Bai Heo, fearing that Bai Heo would disturb Shikamaru's thinking. Hey, Dad, isn't this Shikamaru? Why are you here? Bai Heo asked Bai Yu in a low voice. Bai Yu also whispered to Bai Ying and Bai Heo about accepting Shikamaru as a disciple. Bai Ying and Bai Heo understood and then went back to their rooms happily. Nowadays, computers are a must-have item for every family. The two went back to their rooms to play on the computer until late at night. Shikaku personally took Shikamaru away and the day's practice was over. However, for Shikamaru, the amount of information on this day was extremely huge. However, this also opened the door to a new world in Shikamaru's heart, making Shikamaru extremely excited and unable to fall asleep for a long time. He was thinking about some of the concepts that Bai Yu taught him all the time. Moreover, Shikamaru, who has a flexible mind, can draw inferences from one example and has a lot of skills in his mind. Just wait for Bai Yu to demonstrate it the next day. The next day, just after dawn, Shikamaru ran to Bai Yu's house and knocked on the door. The ones who opened the door were Bai Heo and Bai Ying. The two sisters had been playing for many days and began to practice. Bai Ying practiced the ultimate control of chakra and Bai Heo still practiced swordsmanship. Bai Yu boiled water and brewed tea in the yard early, watching Bai Ying and Bai Heo practice. Teacher Bai Yu, I had some ideas when I went back last night and I want to show you. Shikamaru bowed respectfully to Bai Yu first and then said seriously, oh, so soon? Show me. Bai Yu took a sip of tea, his eyes flashed with interest and said with a smile, yes, teacher. Shikamaru said seriously. Bai Ying and Bai Heo also stood aside and watched when they heard it. Shadow mail technique. Shikamaru first pulled out 5 shurikens from the ninja tool bag, quickly threw them at Bai Yu, then quickly formed seals with both hands, and shouted. Suddenly, Bai Yu felt a sharp pain in his limbs and head, and then he couldn't move. The more he struggled, the more severe the pain became. Bai Yu couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The Nera family's brains are different. Of course, this pain was nothing to Bai Yu. With a little force, the shadow mail technique was broken. Shikamaru was hit hard again. The ninjutsu he had been thinking about for a long time was broken just like that. Shikamaru couldn't help but smile bitterly again. Chapter 327. Kakashi and Kei are both bachelors. Not bad. Very good. If I'm not mistaken, you should use the shuriken to extend the shadow to fix the enemy's shadow, right? Bai Yu said with a smile. Yes, if it's a multiplayer battle, I can use the shadow mail technique to nail a certain number of enemies, and each enemy can be controlled by the shadow imitation technique. Shikamaru said with a flash of deep thought in his eyes. But what are the pros and cons? Bai Yu smiled slightly, looking at the sweat on Shikamaru's forehead and said, yes, it just consumes too much chakra. Shikamaru said with a wry smile. Did he think wrong? Shikamaru couldn't help but deny himself in his heart. Well, it's good that you know the disadvantages. However, your idea is right. You should know that you have just had this kind of thinking and have just come into contact with it. In addition, you have less chakra. It's already very good to be able to achieve this point. Keep working hard. You can continue to improve this shadow mail technique. It's a potential stock ninjutsu. Bai Yu said with a smile. Well, Teacher Bai Yu, are you so sure about this ninjutsu? Shikamaru asked doubtfully. Ninjutsu that wastes chakra is useless in battle. Why does Teacher Bai Yu still approve of it? Is he comforting himself? Shikamaru thought to himself. Shadow mail technique. You have only a prototype idea now, but I see a forbidden technique through your ninjutsu. Bai Yu drank a sip of tea, looked at Naruto with deep eyes and said, I have to say that Naruto is really a genius. No wonder he can take Temari in the future. Ahem. Did he leak the secret? Exclamation mark. Ah. Not only Naruto was surprised, Bai Yu and Bai Yu on the side were also very surprised. Why did Bai Yu have such a high evaluation? You are just using shuriken to extend your shadow now. What if one day you can shorten the distance with space and then use the shadow to perform shadow nail technique directly? If I guess correctly, most of your chakra is used to extend the shadow, right? That's why it consumes so much chakra. Bai Yu said calmly. Yes, teacher. Naruto heard Bai Yu say this and decisively realized the power of this technique. If it is really like what Bai Yu said, he can become a real shadow artist in the dark. Kill people invisibly and use shadows to achieve the effect of cutting throats. Moreover, if the shadow is connected to the body and the shadow's throat is cut, what does that represent? Isn't that cutting the enemy's throat? Not only Naruto, Bai Yu and Bai Yu all looked at Naruto in shock. If this guy really grows up in the future, he will undoubtedly be a master who cannot be provoked. If you provoke him, you must pay attention to your shadow all the time, and don't let this guy cut your throat. But this technique is not absolute. There are many ways to crack it. No matter how much space is superimposed, there will be a critical point. Moreover, even if the nail is nailed to the shadow, it is not connected to the body. It is nothing more than being controlled. The shadow and the body are connected, and there will be a feeling. If you notice it in time, it can be easily cracked. What else did you think of? However, my suggestion is that shadow nail technique is better used as a secret technique to trap the enemy, not as a secret technique to kill the enemy. You should pay more attention to it in the future. You must remember that the invisible blade is the most deadly. Bai Yu said earnestly. I know, teacher Bai Yu. Naruto said seriously. Well, I will teach you a way to exercise your mental power. After Bai Yu finished speaking, he handed over the mental power training method given to Yuhi Kurenai to Naruto, but this was a simplified version, because Naruto only needed strong mental power, and there was no need to use mental power to reach the stage of qualitative change. For Naruto's situation, quantity is much better than quality. After Naruto got the training method, he ran directly to the living room to practice. Bai Yu continued to watch Bai Yu and Bai Yu practice. At this time, Bai Yu and Bai Yu, who had not been home for a long time, also came back. Hey, have you finished the mission? You can rest at home for a while now. What do you want to eat? Your mother went to the Mist Village and is not at home. Let's eat at home. Bai Yu said with a smile, while looking at Bai Yu and Bai Yu who had returned home. Dad, I won't eat at home today. I promised to go to Uchiha Izumi's house for dinner. Bai Yu said awkwardly, while touching the back of his head. Me too, Dad. I'm going to Uchiha Itachi's house for dinner today. Bai Yu also said with a blushing face. It's not even noon yet, and you're already thinking about running out. Hey. People say that girls can't be kept at home when they grow up, but who would have thought that boys can't be kept at home when they grow up? Let's go. Hey, Jinga, Heyoa, what do you two want to eat? Bai Yu's handsome Bai Yu and graceful Bai Yu said helplessly. Dad. Bai Yu and Bai Yu felt sad in their hearts, walked to Bai Yu, and said guiltily. Okay, I was just kidding. How old are you two? Go ahead and come back early in the evening. If there is anything, we can talk about it tomorrow. Bai Yu touched Bai Yu and Bai Yu's heads, and said with a smile. Fortunately, you have the Dharma Eye, but you don't know that the Dharma Eye can plunder the vitality of the world. With this skill, you must want to die. Otherwise, that's right, the Dharma Eye should not have reached that level yet. Bai Yu said secretly in his heart. Thank you, Dad. I'm leaving. Bai Yu and Bai Yu saw Bai Yu's appearance, and there was no guilt on their faces. They ran away impatiently. Beautiful. Bai Yu nodded and said, then drank a sip of tea silently. Bai Yu and Bai Yu are still young, practicing silently. The next day, Bai Yu took Bai Yu, Bai Yu, and Bai Yu, 4 children, to the vegetable market. Prepare to have a hot pot at home. It happened that it was snowing lightly, and eating hot pot was perfect. Hearing that Bai Yu was eating hot pot, the Bai mansion became lively all of a sudden. Uchiha Shizu brought Kato Shizune, Uchiha Obito, Nohara Sarutobi Asuma, Yuhi Kurenai, Tachibana Yukio brought Shiranome, Gekao Heiate brought Yuzuki Yugeo, Beiki brought Uchiha Izumi, Baiyao brought Uchiha Itachi, and 2 single dogs Hatake Kakashi and Might Guy. There are also 3 children, Baiing, Baiheo, and Narashikamaru. The scene suddenly became lively. With so many people, Bai Yu led the team to the vegetable market again, a total of 20 people. Fortunately the Bai mansion is big enough. Otherwise, there really wouldn't be enough seats. 5 people per table. Bai Yu's living room suddenly turned into a meal. 4 copper pots, under the precise control of Uchiha Obito. Fire escape, small flame technique. The charcoal fire was instantly ignited. I'm not saying anything bad about you, Kakashi. Can you two try harder? Look at Baiing, Baiheo, and Narashikamaru. They are still young, but look at them. They are all in pairs. Don't you feel uncomfortable? The hot pot was hot and everyone was chatting happily, and Bai Yu also prepared plenty of drinks for his disciples. However, Bai Yu couldn't help but say something, and then everyone instantly looked at Hatake Kakashi and Might Guy. Chapter 328 Balin. Hearing Bai Yu's words, Might Guy touched his head awkwardly. Hatake Kakashi was eating hot pot calmly, but a pretty face appeared in Hatake Kakashi's mind. A hot pot family dinner ended in a pink and happy atmosphere. A group of 20 people, except for the children, drank a lot of wine. Except for Hatake Kakashi and Might Guy who were left in the living room, the remaining men were taken care of by ladies. As for Bai Yu's alcohol tolerance, Bai Yu looked at the people who were staggering with disdain and walked back to his bedroom with steady steps. Near the end of the year, Tsunade, Uchiha Mikoto and Terumi Mei returned to Konoha happily and return home. In addition to the necessary ninja patrols and defenses, most of the ninjas in Konoha have returned home. The Bai family can be regarded as a complete reunion. Because what Bai Yu said to Narashikamaru later was too profound, Bai Yu had to write the knowledge on a scroll so that Narashikamaru could understand it himself and asked Bai Yu if he didn't understand it. Days passed. In the blink of an eye, several years had passed. Just when Uzumaki, Naruto and the others were 1 year away from graduation, Bai Yu once again faced the most uncomfortable moment in his life. That was when Terumi Mei began to give birth. Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto sat quietly at the door of the delivery room and kept praying. Beiki, Baiyao, Baiing, and Baiheo looked at the door of the delivery room anxiously. However, a spinning top appeared at the door of the delivery room. Bai Yu kept walking back and forth in circles. Bai Yu put his hands behind his back, his face anxious, and just walked in circles. Ding, the light in the delivery room changed. Bai Yu suddenly stopped like a robot and then stood at the door of the delivery room. Congratulations, Lord Bai Yu. Congratulations on the birth of your baby. Mother and child are safe. The medical ninja came to Bai Yu holding a treated baby. Bai Yu excitedly took the baby. When he saw this, he was stunned. The moment the baby was taken by Bai Yu, his eyes opened. Then the eyes began to change, turning into the appearance of Dharma Eyes. Looking at the pair of pupils with Teikai patterns, Bai Yu did not speak for a long time. Seeing Bai Yu's state, Tsunade, Uchiha Mikoto, Beiki, Baiyao, Baiing, and Baiheo all came forward to watch. When everyone saw the pair of eyes, they were all stunned like Bai Yu. However, this is not over yet. Bai Yu's Dharma eyes have become normal. He not only noticed the eyes, but also noticed the faint golden shadow in the baby's chest, at the position of the heart. What is this? This is the power of the dragon. It's really Lina! Exclamation mark. Bai Yu forced himself to suppress the excitement in his heart, and said with a little excitement, let's call him Balin. I can't believe that the Dharma Eye was opened at birth. The family, with Balin, reunited with Terumi Mei. Although Terumi Mei didn't have to worry about her health problems with Bai Yu, she still slept for 2 days because of the weakness of childbirth. Now, the Bai mansion is lively again. The whole Bai mansion was busy with things like the full moon wine and the 1-year-old celebration. Bailin was the closest to Bai Yu, followed by Meitarumi, then Tsunade, Uchiha Mikoto, and Baki. Every time he was held by Bai Yu, he laughed the happiest. However, during this period, because Bailin was a toddler, he could not consciously control his ability of the Dharma Eye, and he made a lot of jokes. It must be said that among Bai Yu's 5 children, Bailin was the one who inherited Bai Yu's ability most perfectly. The Dharma Eye has 2 abilities, soul binding and plundering vitality. Moreover, Bai Yu also checked Bailin's Dharma Eye space, which was very huge, 1/10 of Bai Yu's. Don't underestimate this 1/10. Bailin is just a baby now. During this period, civilians near the Bai mansion were often accidentally bound by Bailin's souls and put into the Dharma Eye space. Several times, if Bai Yu hadn't been watching Bailin, those fragile souls would have been refined by the Dharma Eye space. Also, the grass and trees around the Bai mansion would often turn yellow, and then Bailin would turn red all over and cry in pain. However, this also made some guys with bad intentions say that Bai Yu had given birth to a monster. Of course, these guys with bad intentions disappeared the next day, and any ninja who heard bad things about Bai Yu was quietly dealt with without Bai Yu's instructions. The happy days didn't last long. On this day, Bai Yu was teasing Bailin with his 3 wives, and saw an Anbu ninja appear outside the yard. "Lord Bai Yu, something bad has happened. Ninetail, Ninetail." Obviously, this Anbu ninja came in a hurry and was a little out of breath when he spoke. "Don't be anxious, talk slowly. What happened to the Ninetail?" Bai Yu appeared in front of the Anbu ninja with a blink of an eye and frowned and asked. The Ninetails was absorbed into Naruto's body and then he passed out. Then the dark red-tailed beast coat appeared. The Hokage has already rushed there and it's in the back mountain. The Anbu ninja ignored his unsteady breathing, held his breath, finished talking about the important things, and then panted. "Okay, I'll go there." Bai Yu didn't have time to say hello to his family and disappeared with a flash of body. When Bai Yu came to the back mountain, he saw Namikaze Minato, Sarutobi Hiruzen, Hatake Tsukumo, Hyuga Hayashi, Uchiha Fugaku, and Tachibana Yukio's father Tachibana Utsuzashi, fighting fiercely with Uzumaki Naruto in the tailed beast coat. Namikaze Minato and Hatake Tsukumo used their speed to attack the Ninetails at a tricky angle. Tachibana Utsuzashi and Hyuga Hayashi opened their bloodline power and opened their Byakugan respectively and fought the Ninetails steadily. The one attacking head-on was Uchiha Fugaku's Susanoo. Sarutobi Hiruzen was holding a long stick in his hand and attacking the Ninetails from the side. Seeing this, Bai Yu knew it was not the time to hesitate, frowned, and rushed over. He turned into a purple gold lightning, and with a powerful whip kick, he kicked Uzumaki Naruto, who was unconscious, and opened the tailed beast coat into the distance. For a moment, the 6 people who were fighting were stunned. "Bai Yu, what are you doing? Why are you so heavy? It's not that we can't defeat it, but we don't know what happened." The Ninetails ran into Uzumaki Naruto's body. Uzumaki Naruto has become a Jinchuriki. Without the suppression of the talisman, Uzumaki Naruto can't control the hidden tyrannical side of the Ninetails. "We are dealing with it while thinking of countermeasures. Why are you so cruel?" Sarutobi Hiruzen on the side was the first to react and shouted anxiously. "Naruto." Namikaze Minato looked at Uzumaki Naruto, who broke more than 10 trees with heartache and couldn't help but whispered. "That's right, why are you so heavy? Really, if I didn't want to think of a countermeasure and was afraid of hurting Naruto, my Susanoo would be enough." Uchiha Fugaku couldn't help but say something. It was really that Bai Yu's whip kick was too brutal. Chapter 329 Nine-tailed Jinchuriki? Exclamation mark. "Ah. That's embarrassing," I thought. Haha. Bai Yu touched the back of his head and laughed awkwardly. "I say, you guys, if that's the case, why don't you seal the Ninetails?" Bai Yu asked curiously. "The surface of the Ninetails is very hot now. It can cook meat in an instant. If it could be sealed directly, Minato would have done it long ago." Sarutobi Hiruzen said seriously. "Yes, I just tried to use Susanoo to restrain the Ninetails and let the Hokage seal the Ninetails, but it couldn't touch the Ninetails at all." Uchiha Fugaku also said seriously as he looked at the Ninetails running again from a distance. "It's not a big deal. Minato, don't feel bad later." Bai Yu said with a wicked smile. You. What are you going to do? Namikaze Minato saw Bai Yu's smile and immediately felt something was wrong, but it was too late. Bai Yu had already rushed towards the Ninetales. Pa. A crisp sound rang out, and everyone was stunned. Pa 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 pa, a series of crisp sounds. Naruto. Minato Namikaze shouted distressedly. Bai Yu rushed over and slapped the Ninetales with his backhand. The Ninetales in the state of the tailed beast coat is now unconscious. The Ninetales at this time is full of tyranny. But that's it. After being slapped by Bai Yu, it was also stunned for a moment, and then the strong sense of humiliation made the Ninetales roar angrily. But how could Bai Yu indulge the Ninetales? Exclamation mark. A set of super invincible Konoha's ultimate physical technique of continuous slapping made the Ninetales completely confused. This is why Minato Namikaze shouted distressedly. The Ninetales now is much smaller than the original Ninetales. Although it looks like the Ninetales, it is still the body of Uzumaki Naruto. Because of the changes caused by the power of the Ninetales, it will become the appearance of the Ninetales. Minato, what seal are you going to use? Bai Yu asked comfortably while fanning. Stop slapping. 8 diagrams for symbol seal. Minato Namikaze said it without thinking, because if he delayed for a second, Uzumaki Naruto would get slapped several more times. HMM. Exclamation mark. This seal is a bit inflexible, Bai Yu said in his heart, and then a series of various sealing techniques popped up in his mind. 9 Dragon Seal. No, this will seal it directly. 4 RUI Seal. This won't work either. If you use this, the limitations are too great. Then Bai Yu simply closed his eyes and began to meditate, and then continued to output to the nine-tailed beast's cheeks, based on the feel of his hands. This cruel scene made Minato Namikaze more and more heartbroken, and the elderly Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but close his eyes, and the others looked away. Too cruel. After a while, a dramatic scene appeared. Before Bai Yu could perform the sealing technique, the tailed beast coat disappeared by itself. Before the nine-tailed beast disappeared, it looked at Bai Yu with resentment, and a few tears flowed from the corners of its eyes. Bai Yu fanned unconsciously, but why did he feel his hands were empty? Bai Yu opened his eyes and saw that the nine-tailed beast coat had dissipated. Uzumaki Naruto was lying on the ground in tatters and red. Oh my god, what's going on? Bai Yu couldn't help but exclaimed, when did the Ninetales become so weak? You. Hurry up and treat Naruto. Namikaze Minato turned into yellow lightning and came to Uzumaki Naruto. Looking at Uzumaki Naruto, whose head was like a pig's, he looked at Bai Yu with a slightly resentful look and shouted, "Ah, okay." Bai Yu was stunned for a few seconds and agreed, then waved his hand and a green energy ball enveloped Uzumaki Naruto's body. Uzumaki Naruto, who exuded the aroma of barbecue, gradually returned to normal, but the swelling on his face was a little slow to dissipate. In the end, the green energy ball enveloped his face for a long time before it gradually dissipated. This made Bai Yu a little embarrassed. It's not my fault. I didn't know the Ninetales was so vulnerable now. I used to slap it for a long time, but it was fine. Bai Yu explained hurriedly. I don't believe you, Bai Yu. You are so bad. Everyone looked at Bai Yu suspiciously. The Ninetales is now in Naruto's body, and the power it can burst out has a lot to do with the physical fitness and strength of the Jinchuriki. Moreover, the Ninetales is in Uzumaki Naruto's body, so hitting the Ninetales is equivalent to hitting Naruto. Sarutobi Hiruzen said unhappily. The cruel scene just now made Sarutobi Hiruzen worried. That scene was too miserable. Ah, I said it. So that's the case. Sorry Minato, I really didn't know this. In the past, either the Jinchuriki was killed directly, or the tailed beast was killed directly. This is the first time I've encountered this. Haha. Bai Yu said embarrassedly after hearing this. Why didn't you just seal Uzumaki Naruto just now? Namikaze Minato asked. He knew that Bai Yu didn't seal the Ninetales, because he wanted to hit it. However, Hatake Tsukumo and the others looked at Bai Yu suspiciously. The sad and beautiful scene just now seemed like Bai Yu and Uzumaki Naruto had a grudge. The seal you mentioned is not only not strong, but also easy for the Ninetales to seize the opportunity to destroy it. Although the Ninetales has become better, you should not forget the Ninetales' strength and potential violent personality. Even if we are not afraid, can Naruto control it alone now? Bai Yu frowned and said thoughtfully. Bai Yu's words made everyone fall into deep thought. Obviously, this question was not thought of just now, and they were only concerned about controlling the Nine Tails. What do you think, you? Namikaze Minato asked. My idea is to establish a method that can restrain the Nine Tails, give it freedom, and use it. Bai Yu said. This is too difficult. With the Nine Tails personality, it is impossible for Naruto to control it easily. Hinata Hayashi frowned and said. That's right, but there is another way, which is to get the Nine Tails out. Don't worry, I have a way to make the Nine Tails appear while ensuring Naruto's life safety. Bai Yu said in a deep voice. Can't you talk to the Nine Tails? I remember that the Nine Tails used to listen to you. Hatake Tsukumo said, touching his chin. Yes, you can talk first. Uchiha Fugaku also agreed. Okay, I'll try to talk. Bai Yu said helplessly. The Nine Tails should be a guy who likes freedom, and he should not be willing to be a Jinchuriki. Bai Yu thought to himself. Bai Yu walked to the unconscious Uzumaki Naruto. The reason why Uzumaki Naruto didn't wake up was because his mental power was too much, and he still needed to recuperate. Bai Yu used his mental power to penetrate into Uzumaki Naruto's body and awaken the Nine Tails. But in a moment, the Nine Tails came to his senses. Directly controlled Uzumaki Naruto's body. Bai Yu, why did you hit me? The Nine Tails controlled Uzumaki Naruto's body and roared angrily. Oh my god, were you rational just now? If I don't hit you, who should I hit? Without further ado, let me ask you a question. Would you rather follow me freely, or stay in Naruto's body and willingly help him become the Nine Tails Jinchuriki? Bai Yu said impatiently. But then, the Nine Tails answer. Chapter 330 I'm scarier than the nine-tailed fox? The answer of the Nine Tails stunned everyone. Especially Bai Yu, who wanted to slap the Nine Tails to death. I choose to do my best to help Uzumaki Naruto become the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, without any complaints. Instead of facing the threat of this guy freely, it is better to become the power of Jinchuriki, and there is someone to chat with, so I won't be bored to death every day, and I have to be threatened by this guy. Besides, Uzumaki Naruto is not bad. During this period, since the first time we met, he brought me delicious food and said that he was willing to be my friend because he saw that I was alone. Although this little guy is a little stupid and heartless, I feel sincerity in him. Unlike this guy, although he is also very sincere, his sincerity is a little biased and he is sincere to bully me. The Nine Tails controlled Uzumaki Naruto's body, pointed at Bai Yu, and spoke righteously, and his full of resentment burst out instantly. Sure, Nine Tails. It's been a long time since I last absorbed the power of your Nine Tails. You deserve it, don't you? Come on, I'll absorb enough today. I can't kill you. Bai Yu was instantly angry. Damn, bastard, now I have a chance, right? After Bai Yu finished speaking, the Teikai diagram in his eyes began to spin. Seeing this, Hatake Tsukumo on the side hurriedly patted Uchiha Fugaku. You, what are you doing? Don't be like this, the Nine Tails is scared by you. It's really pitiful. Uchiha Fugaku understood, and hurriedly pulled Bai Yu with Hatake Tsukumo. Hatake Tsukumo pointed at the terrified Nine Tails and said earnestly, look at this guy. How dare I be free and unfettered? I, the Nine Tails, have always been feared and terrified. Look at this guy now. He sucks my chakra at every turn. Although I'm very weak every time, I can endure it. But sometimes, when this guy sucks it, I feel like I'm dying. The Nine Tails saw someone pulling him with a sad and angry face. Oh my god, Tsukumo, Fugaku, don't stop me, I must suck it to death today. This bastard. He really can't see the point. Bai Yu got even angrier when he heard it. Hatake Tsukumo and Uchiha Fugaku were pulling this pain, and Bai Yu was too strong. In fact, Bai Yu never said that. Although Bai Yu absorbed the Nine Tails chakra, it was also a good thing for the Nine Tails. What's the point? Bastard, every time I'm beaten by you, I have to lie down for several days. The Nine Tails shouted angrily. Have you not noticed that your mentality is different from before? You are much more sunny now. Although you are still a proud person, will you be angry like before when you encounter something that makes you unhappy? Bai Yu said angrily. It's all because of you. The nine-tailed fox was slightly stunned when it heard Bai Yu's words, but the proud one still said the harshest words in an uncertain tone. Arsehole. The tiring behind Bai Yu's head was looming, and he struggled hard. If he was not afraid that breaking free would hurt Hatake Tsukumo and Uchiha Fugaku, Bai Yu wanted to slap the nine-tailed fox in the face and comfort this notorious tailed beast. You boy, calm down, say what you want to say. Let the nine-tailed fox know that, if you don't say it, it will only misunderstand you. As a wise old man, Sarutobi Hiruzen naturally heard the hidden meaning in Bai Yu's words and said earnestly, okay, Ninetail, don't you feel uncomfortable when I absorb your chakra? I'll tell you today, yes, I absorb your power, and I can also improve my strength a little bit. However, when I absorb your chakra, the resentment and murderousness in your heart will also be absorbed by me. In the long run, you can experience the kindness of this world without these negative emotions. Moreover, even if you dissipate, you will not die. I know that it will take a long time for you to be resurrected, but I have the ability to help you revive quickly. Let's not talk about these for now, let's talk about your change of mentality. If I hadn't refined most of the tyranny that had been accumulated in your heart for a long time, could you feel the kindness of Uzumaki Naruto? Feel it yourself. Are you the same as before? Bai Yu said coldly. When Ninetail heard this, he was shocked. Yes. In the past, I wanted to kill humans when I saw them, and I could never see people laughing in front of me. I enjoyed the fear of humans in front of me. How could I laugh foolishly because of some childish benefits given to me by Uzumaki Naruto? But after all, Kyuubi is in the advanced stage of Tsundere disease. That must be because he was abused by you. He thinks everyone is better than you. Kyuubi turned his face to the side with a guilty conscience and said leisurely, oh my god, let go of me. I must kill this guy with one palm today. The tiring behind Bai Yu's head suddenly appeared. Minato, hurry up. Move Kyuubi. Don't get hurt. Sarutobi Hiruzen saw that the situation was not good and hurriedly said to Namikaze Minato. Namikaze Minato said nothing, grabbed Kyuubi and became a flying thunder god. Old man, I hurt him. You. Bai Yu was even more angry when he heard what Sarutobi Hiruzen said. How come I'm more terrifying than Kyuubi? Exclamation mark. Bai Yu did not struggle anymore. He was too angry to continue. He pointed at Sarutobi Hiruzen for a long time without knowing what to say. Bai Yu, Elder Sarutobi, that's not what I meant, but your strength is the strongest in Konoha, isn't it? After all, the Ninetails is now in Naruto's body. What if Naruto has an accident? Right. At this time, Hyuga Hayashi walked up to Bai Yu and said earnestly, do you believe it or not, I can kill that Evildoer and still guarantee that Naruto will not die. Bai Yu said unhappily when he heard what Hyuga Hayashi said. Yes, we all believe it. Look, the Ninetails is now willing. Naruto has become a Jinchuriki, can communicate with the Ninetails perfectly, can use the power of the Ninetails perfectly, and can also increase Konoha's strength. Isn't this killing two birds with one stone? Sarutobi Hiruzen also said earnestly at this time. At this time, Tachibana Yui Musashi, who had been silent, also walked up to Bai Yu and said, yes, Lord Bai Yu, although I have not been in Konoha for a long time, I'm also the patriarch of the Tachibana clan, and I have also noticed this. In fact, the Ninetails guy also understands your intentions, Lord Bai Yu, but I think that guy is a little arrogant and is embarrassed to say these words. You have been with the Ninetails for so long, don't you understand him? Now you have successfully educated a dangerous beast and increased the strength of Konoha. Otherwise, the Ninetails would stay in the back mountain every day and would not be able to help Konoha at any time, right? It is also a good thing for Konoha that the little guy Uzumaki Naruto becomes a Jinchuriki. After all, Uzumaki Naruto can be said to be the safest Jinchuriki in history. And the Jinchuriki who succeeds Uzumaki Naruto in the future will be able to interact with the Ninetails in harmony. Tachibana Musashi said this and paused when he saw that Bai Yu's anger had subsided a little. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 331, The Story of Ninetales and Naruto. Seeing that Bai Yu had calmed down, Tachibana Yui Musashi continued. I have to say, Lord Bai Yu, you have done a great thing for Konoha village. Why did you kill that Ninetales guy? Right? After saying this, Tachibana Yui Musashi stood aside and didn't say anything. Sarutobi Hiruzen gave Tachibana Yui Musashi a thumbs up. Similarly, Hatake Tsukumo, Uchiha Fugaku, and Hyuga Hayashi also gave Tachibana Yui Musashi a thumbs up. Tachibana Yui Musashi quietly responded with a simple smile and didn't say anything. Well, okay. You are still nice to talk to, brother Musashi. Call me you from now on. After all, I'm also Tachibana Yukaio's teacher, so we don't have to be so polite. Bai Yu exhaled and said politely, no problem, you. Tachibana Yui Musashi said with a smile. Okay, that's fine. I'll go back first. Lina is still at home, and I don't know what will happen without me. Bai Yu said with a smile, and then hurried home. Bai Yu, who has returned home, is trying hard to clean up Balin's mess. During the time that Bai Yu was out, several souls of passers-by have been sucked by Balin. This time, because there are several more souls in his head, he is crying in fear. Musashi, you are still awesome. It was done in just a few words. Sarutobi Hiruzen also breathed a sigh of relief, patted Tachibana Yukaio's shoulder, and said with a smile. No, I also learned this from my son Tachibana Yukaio. Tachibana Yukaio said embarrassedly. Oh, Tachibana Yukaio? Does he have this ability? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked in confusion. Haha. My son fiancé, Mei Shiranu, has a hot temper. When my son coaxes Mei, she is like this. Tachibana Yukaio said even more embarrassedly. Upon hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen, Hatake Tsukumo, Uchiha Fugaku, and Hyuga Hayashi all laughed in understanding. Seeing that there was nothing to do, the few people walked back while chatting. Ninetales, can you tell me how you and Naruto met? And how did you suddenly enter his body? Minato Namikaze asked as he brought Ninetales to a quiet place. Then I'll simply tell you that Naruto's body can't stand being controlled by me for long. Ninetales said with a complicated look when he saw Minato Namikaze. Minato Namikaze nodded. The first time I met Uzumaki Naruto, it was very interesting. This little guy seemed to like a girl, but it seemed that the girl didn't like him. At that time, I just came back from a stroll in the village, and I didn't turn into a primitive. This little guy thought I was an ordinary little fox. He talked to me for a long time. Before leaving, he cheered himself up. That smile that was very similar to yours, but brighter than yours, made me feel very happy. Although I didn't speak, I could see that he was very kind. I live there. After that time, Uzumaki Naruto would come to tell me whether he was happy or not. I was afraid that if I spoke, he would know that I was the Ninetales and would be scared away. I wondered why he didn't tell you and Kushina. But what I heard him say was that Kushina was too violent and you were never home. He could only keep everything in his heart. Later, he brought me a lot of food, always raw meat at the beginning. In the end, he clumsily roasted it in front of me and gave it to me to eat. Then, by chance, it should be the dessert that his good friend Bai gave him. He brought it to share with me. I was very happy to eat it. He knew that I love desserts, and every time he came to see me, he would give me a lot. Then, he said that he wanted to be my best friend. His eyes were sincere and his tone was firm. I gritted my teeth and exposed my true identity. He saw that I was a nine-tailed fox at a glance. But he was not afraid, but said naively, "Hey, you are a nine-tailed fox. I should have thought of it earlier. I'm so stupid. You have brown red hair and nine-tails. I thought you were just an ordinary nine-tailed fox." Haha. I asked him, "Aren't you afraid of me?" He said, "Why should I be afraid of you? You are also very kind. I really want to make friends with you." I told him a lot about my past, but he said, "It's okay. It's all in the past. It's cool to be friends with you." Since then, besides Bai Yu, Uzumaki Naruto is my second friend. Although Bai Yu always absorbs my power, He is really good to me. The reason why I refused my freedom and was willing to become Uzumaki Naruto's power is because he said that he was about to take the final exam and he wanted to defeat that ice-faced Uchiha Sasuke. I said I could lend him power, but he said he wanted to rely on his own strength. I said, let me be your power. As a Jinchuriki, it is easy for you to defeat him. Uzumaki Naruto said, Uncle Bai Yu finally set you free. By becoming my power, you can't help but lose your freedom. When he said this, I was very moved, so I entered his body, but I didn't expect that the anger in my heart broke out, and I lost my mind all of a sudden. The Ninetales looked up at the sky and told everything. Minato Namikaze listened to the Ninetales' words and felt a lot of emotions in his heart. He didn't expect the Ninetales to be so simple. He didn't expect that Naruto had so much sadness and unhappiness, and he didn't tell him. Naruto is really a sensible child. I ignored your thoughts and Naruto. Namikaze Minato said apologetically. Okay, don't worry about me. Naruto's body can't hold on any longer. I'm going back. When I have time, let Bai Yu seal Naruto. I'm afraid that the remaining violence in my heart will hurt Naruto. The Ninetales said it very straightforwardly and then retreated into Naruto's body. Namikaze Minato looked at the unconscious Uzumaki Naruto with a slightly raised corner of his mouth with a complicated expression. After looking for a long time, he smiled slightly and walked home with Uzumaki Naruto in his arms. The next day, Bai Yu strolled in the yard with Balin in his arms. Knock, knock, knock. There was a strong knock on the door. Uncle Bai Yu. Uncle Bai Yu. Open the door quickly. Then there was a hurried shout. When Bai Yu heard the shout, he knew who was coming. There was no one else except the impatient Uzumaki Naruto. Bai Yu held Balin and opened the door for Uzumaki Naruto. Uncle Bai Yu, why did you take so long to open the door? I was so anxious. Uzumaki Naruto panted. What's wrong? Why are you so anxious? Bai Yu closed the door and asked with a smile. I'm waiting for you to seal me. Kurama and my father told me that you can set a seal for me that can control the remaining violent character in its heart. Uzumaki Naruto said. Humph, Kurama. Kurama, you should cure your tsundere disease. Bai Yu said this unhappily at first and then said the second half of the sentence to Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto knew that Bai Yu was talking to the Ninetales, so he touched his head and smiled, but didn't say anything. Chapter 332. Naruto was hurriedly carried to the back mountain. Bai Yu brought Uzumaki Naruto to the living room and held Balin in front of his chest with one hand. He made a few seals with his right hand and pressed Balin's head. Suddenly, starting from the center of his eyebrows, like branches, extremely complex rune patterns appeared and extended to his cheeks. Then Bai Yu put Balin on the sofa. Naruto, I'll communicate with the Ninetales first. Just sit down. Bai Yu said to Uzumaki Naruto. I know, Uncle Bai Yu. Uzumaki Naruto said with the same smile as Minato Namikaze, but a closer look revealed that there was a kind and free and easy attitude hidden behind the smile. Bai Yu nodded without saying anything, pressed one hand on Uzumaki Naruto's head, and slowly closed his eyes. Ninetales. Bai Yu called the Ninetales through his mental power. Ninetales. No, this guy must be able to hear it at this level. Exclamation mark. Bai Yu thought to himself, and knew that this guy must want to pretend not to hear it, wait until the seal is done, and then slip away. Kurama. I know you can hear me, so hurry up and answer me, or I'll kill you. Then I'll revive you, and kill you again. Bai Yu roared. Uncle Bai Yu, what are you doing? Why are you killing him? Uzumaki Naruto could naturally hear Bai Yu's roar and shouting. Hearing Bai Yu's roar, he quickly shouted in his mind. Naruto, shut up. You don't know how much this guy has treated me. Bai Yu said seriously. When Uzumaki Naruto heard this, he immediately smiled bitterly. No wonder Kyuubi told him to hurry up before he came. It turns out there is a story behind this. Kurama, I'll count to 3. If you don't speak again, then you can feel the feeling of your gradual demise. Bai Yu roared again. It's just a small matter. Why do you care? Kyuubi spoke, a little angry, a little embarrassed, and more embarrassed. It's just a small matter? It's as if I abuse you every day. My sons, when you go to my house, they don't give you good food. Huh. You can't stand me absorbing your chakra every day. If you have the ability, don't come to ask me to set a seal. Bai Yu said anxiously when he heard what Jiuwei said. Okay, I was wrong. Okay. You are so old, and you are still so petty. Jiuwei appeared in the dark spiritual world and said nonchalantly. That's right, Uncle Bai Yu. Why are you so stingy? Uzumaki Naruto made up for it in time. Jiuwei grinned and smiled when he heard what Uzumaki Naruto said. God teammate. No, I was wrong. Bai Yu was stunned and asked with a smile. No, Uncle Bai Yu, how could you be wrong? You see Jiuwei has this character. Why are you arguing with him? For my sake, don't be angry, okay? Uzumaki Naruto was so smart. He said immediately. When Ninetales heard this, his tsundere disease came back, but he curled his lips and said nothing. HMPH, Naruto is still easy to listen to. I'm starting now. Pay attention. Mainly Ninetales, you must pay attention. I will extract all the anger hidden in your heart first, but it will be painful. You must hold it in. If you hold it in, you will be weak for a few days, but if you take a good rest for a few days, your strength will not only improve, but it should also increase by a few points. Bai Yu said unhappily at first, and then said seriously. Good Bai Yu. You want to absorb my chakra again. When Ninetales heard this, he was anxious. That kind of weakness was simply too uncomfortable. Asshole. I wanted to be gentle, but you force me to do it. Come on. Feel the wrath of me, Bai. Bai Yu's patience disappeared in an instant. He said coldly. You, don't make trouble. When Ninetales heard the familiar tone, a chill suddenly came out of his heart. But Bai Yu didn't care. Bai Yu suddenly opened his eyes. Looking at Uzumaki Naruto, many ways to keep the Ninetales from dying flashed through his mind. He chose the most painful way. Uzumaki Naruto couldn't react. He carried Uzumaki Naruto on his shoulder with his left hand, picked up Balin with his right hand and ran out. First, he went to the dragon group base and handed Balin to Meditarumi. It's not that Meditarumi was unwilling to take care of Balin after marriage, but Balin only sticks to Bai Yu. However, the necessary nutrient solution will still be prepared for Bai Yu in advance, and Bai Yu will occasionally drink some himself. After explaining a few words to Meditarumi, he hurriedly carried Uzumaki Naruto to the back mountain. Uncle Bai Yu, why did you carry me here? Uzumaki Naruto looked at Bai Yu with a fierce look on his face, and said with a scared look. What am I doing? Nothing. It has nothing to do with you. The main thing is to settle the account with the hateful Ninetales. Bai Yu said coldly. Uncle Bai Yu, what are you going to do to the Ninetales? I will never allow you to hurt him. Uzumaki Naruto was a child, so he naturally didn't think that Bai Yu had other intentions. He thought that Bai Yu really wanted to kill the Ninetales because of the anger in his heart, so he said indignantly. Bai Yu was stunned when he saw this, and then smiled. Okay, Ninetales, you are such an idiot that you still need Naruto to protect you. Today I must settle accounts with the Ninetales. No one can help. I said it. Bai Yu finished domineeringly. With a wave of his hand, he quickly said a string of spiritual words. For Uzumaki Naruto's level, the divine spell is still very useful. In the dark, Uzumaki Naruto felt that the chakra in his body solidified instantly and no longer flowed, and his whole body seemed to be imprisoned by an invisible shackle, and he couldn't even speak. Kurama. Watch out, Uncle Bai Yu attacked me. You should be the next one. Be careful. Hey, forget it. Just get out of my body and run for your life. I told you not to make any seal. You insisted on doing it. What happened? Run away, Kurama. Uzumaki Naruto used his consciousness and began to shout madly to the Ninetales. It's okay, Naruto. That guy Yu is only angry on the surface. He won't kill me. If he wanted to kill me, he would have killed me a long time ago. It's just that he was angry just now and wanted to torture me a little. It's okay. I have endured the most humiliating torture. This is not a big deal. I'm also a Ninetales who has experienced big scenes. The Ninetales said calmly and recalled Bai Yu's gentle mouth in his mind. Huh? What's the situation? Hearing the Ninetales words, Uzumaki Naruto was stunned. Bai Yu looked at the anxious Uzumaki Naruto. His face was full of coldness, but in his heart he secretly affirmed Uzumaki Naruto, believing that it would be the right choice for the Nine Tails to follow Uzumaki Naruto. It seems that Naruto is really the chosen one. He originally kept the Nine Tails by his side, and there were some restrictions from heaven and earth, as if he was dissatisfied. As soon as the Nine Tails entered Naruto's body, this restriction disappeared immediately. Bai Yu's mind was instantly filled with thoughts. Chapter 333 Uncle Ichiraku. Bai Yu didn't waste too much time. He pressed one hand on Uzumaki Naruto's head, and then Bai Yu suddenly pulled out. With this pull, Uzumaki Naruto felt a strong pulling force, and felt that his soul was being pulled out. He saw that the head of the Nine Tails turned into pure chakra energy, and was pulled out by Bai Yu. "You, what are you doing? Stop it. If I come out, Naruto will be in danger." The Nine Tails was so anxious that he didn't care about the strong pulling force and started shouting. "What am I going to do? Didn't you give up the gentle option? Brother, I'll give you something exciting." Bai Yu grinned and said with a wicked smile, I choose gentle." "Stop it, you," the Nine Tails said hurriedly. "Haha, it's too late." Bai Yu sneered at first, and then his expression was stunned. With a serious face, the Dharma Eyes in his eyes suddenly enlarged, and the Teikai Dharma ring behind his head instantly bloomed with black and white light. The light shone on the back of Bai Yu's head, and his eyes showed a thick line of yin and yang power as thick as 2 fingers. The thick thread wrapped around the nine-tailed fox's head without any hesitation. The nine-tailed fox's heart almost broke when he saw it. "What's going on?" Exclamation mark. It was just a silk thread before, but today it's so thick. "Are you going to suck me to death?" The energized nine-tailed fox looked terrified. "Enjoy it, my little nine-tailed fox. Let you be arrogant," Bai Yu said angrily, and then the power of yin and yang took effect. An unprecedented suction force absorbed the nine-tailed fox's chakra. The nine-tailed fox felt this suction force and suddenly calmed down. "It's over. It's dead today. Everything is over." The nine-tailed fox didn't resist, but resistance was also useful. The nine-tailed fox's eyes began to sluggish. Bai Yu was very relieved when he saw this. "You deserved it for making me angry." Humph. But Bai Yu was not just focusing on absorbing the nine-tailed fox's attractive chakra. The thick thread made of yin and yang power extended countless thin silk threads, which extended directly to the heart of the nine-tailed fox along the energy. When he arrived at the location, Bai Yu immediately felt the extremely cold and tyrannical breath. "This is it," Bai Yu said secretly in his heart, and then began to move. Gradually, the suction force hit the heart of the nine-tails. Although the suction force felt by the nine-tails was still the same, Bai Yu absorbed more of this cold and violent energy. After slowly absorbing it for a few years, most of this energy has dissipated. After a while, this energy was gradually absorbed by Bai Yu, without leaving a trace, but Bai Yu did not stop. He waited until the energized nine-tails was so faint that it was almost invisible, and then he gave back some of the nine-tails chakra before stopping. Bai Yu used the power of yin and yang to transform into a pair of big hands, and pressed the nine-tails back into Uzumaki Naruto's body. Using mental power and the power of yin and yang as a medium, he began to describe the seal of the nine-tails in Uzumaki Naruto's spiritual world. It's better to say that it's the home of the nine-tails in the future than to say it's a seal. There are not too many shackles, just a key left for Uzumaki Naruto. In the spiritual world, if the nine-tails is disobedient, rebellious, or rampaging in the future, Uzumaki Naruto only needs to turn this key to instantly seal the nine-tails in the world that Bai Yu made for the nine-tails. Moreover, in this world, Bai Yu left a huge mental illusion, similar to Izanami, but unlike Izanami, it requires self-mutilation and has side effects. The illusion that Bai Yu left for Uzumaki Naruto only requires Uzumaki Naruto to leave the nine-tails with the target. That needs to be changed, and mental power can be directly drawn from the spirit world. After the nine-tails rampage is over, just twist the key in reverse, and it will return to normal. However, Bai Yu is not a stingy person. In Uzumaki Naruto's spiritual world, he only made a sealed space with mountains, water, and forests for the nine-tails with a beautiful environment. Of course, the key is invisible and only Uzumaki Naruto knows where it is. Bai Yu also directly put the function of the key and some precautions into Uzumaki Naruto's mind and gave Uzumaki Naruto the authority to block the Ninetales' external perception. After all, Naruto, this guy, is going to get married, right? Haha. After finishing it, Bai Yu roughly threw the Ninetales in, leaving the Ninetales with a face full of resentment, and gave him a cool look. Exit Uzumaki Naruto's spiritual world. Done. Brat, why are you looking at me like that? I helped you so much, why don't you thank me? Bai Yu clapped his hands and said to Uzumaki Naruto with a smile. Hey, what's the look in your eyes? Why are you so resentful? What's the matter? Just say it. Bai Yu asked with a frown. If you don't say anything, I'll leave. How come I helped you so much, but you didn't even say thank you? Bai Yu said a little unhappy. Why are you still crying? You kid, you don't have to be so moved, right? Wipe your tears. Bai Yu was happy when he saw Uzumaki Naruto crying. How could he be so moved? I didn't do anything. You bastard. Naruto, you're still holding me down. The Ninetales appeared from Bai Yu's shoulder in energy, looming, as if it was about to break, and its voice was extremely weak. There was no way. The Ninetales almost died because of Bai Yu's trick. Now it can only be said to be on the verge of death. Oh my god. I forgot. Bai Yu slapped his thigh and shouted awkwardly. Under the setting sun, Konoha's most famous Ichiraku ramen. Such a scene appeared. A young man, with a face full of anger, was eating ramen crazily. There was a mountain of ramen bowls next to him, and he even drank the soup. A handsome young man watched helplessly and embarrassedly. After the boy finished another bowl, Bai Yu said helplessly, Naruto, that's enough, aren't you full after eating so much? After saying that, Bai Yu looked at the bowl of noodles. That was like a small mountain. I'm not full. Uncle Bai Yu, you actually forgot, and then provoked me so much. Besides, the Ninetales was made so weak by you. If I eat more, I can also give him some nutrition. Uncle Ichiraku. Another bowl. Uzumaki Naruto shouted angrily. Okay. Lord Bai Yu, you spent money today. Uncle Ichiraku said with a smile, and his hands were not idle. He quickly made another bowl of ramen for Uzumaki Naruto. Bai Yu smiled, but when Ichiraku ramen was making ramen, Bai Yu's expression did not change, but he felt something was wrong. A vague sense of oppression, but this feeling was fleeting. Bai Yu observed Uncle Ichiraku calmly. There was no abnormal movement, and there was no change around. Is this my illusion? Bai Yu couldn't help but say to himself in his heart. When Bai Yu's gaze fell on the bowl of ramen next to Uzumaki Naruto again, this Uncle Ichiraku smiled in a very subtle way, and then regained his composure. Chapter 334, Redivision of Levels. Bai Yu sent Uzumaki Naruto home, who couldn't walk, and finally got rid of the stingy brat. Bai Yu came to the dragon group with ease. Bai Ying and Bai Heo were also ambitious. These days, whenever they had time, they would go to the dragon group every day to train their actual combat experience. However, these two children mainly looked for Baiki, Bai Yeo, or Uchiha Itachi. The 8 members of the older generation of the dragon group were not good enough in terms of strength or experience. Although Uchiha Genji and his men usually kept a low profile, they were merciless when they attacked. Basically, they beat Bai Ying and Bai Heo to the point of losing their combat effectiveness in 2 or 3 moves. Once, Bai Heo even quietly asked Baiki why they were so cruel. Baiki told Bai Heo that this was the tradition of the dragon group. They trained more in peacetime and shed less blood in war. They also tried their best in sparring. After all, Bai Yu was there. Even if they were accidentally killed, they would be resurrected instantly. However, once the war started, the enemy would not be kind enough to treat your injuries or save your life. Bai Heo nodded after listening to Baiki's words. Although it was a little hard to accept such a cruel internal competition, the reason was still right. Baiki and Bai Ying happened to have nothing to do, so Bai Yu took the whole family back home. It was really lively in the Bai mansion now. Bai Yu was holding Bailin, followed by Tsunade, Uchiha Makoto, Terumi Mei, and then Baiki, Bai Yeo, Bai Ying, Bai Heo, and Bai Qingcheng who was not there. There were 10 people in this family. After having a reunion dinner at home, Bai Yu unsealed the seal on Bailin's forehead. Why are you unsealing it? Isn't this good? Wait until Lina has independent consciousness before unsealing it. Terumi Mei asked puzzledly beside Bai Yu. This is not good for Lina's development. The seal is equivalent to suppressing the growth of the Dharma Eye. It's okay for a while, but if it lasts for a long time, it will not be worth it. Bai Yu said with a smile. Is that so? But it's really worrying for Lina. Only you can do something about it. Your genes are really strong enough. Medi Terumi said lovingly, while looking at Balin who was drinking milk. Of course. To be honest, Lina has the most awakened abilities. Kia, Joa, Jinga, Heoa, these 4 children will have to awaken once more in the future to fully exert my genes. Bai Yu glanced at Balin and said with a smile. Oh, I have to awaken once more. Tsunade was drinking tea on the side. When she heard Bai Yu's words, she couldn't help but ask curiously. Yes, I have to awaken once more. Otherwise, how do you think my physical strength is so strong? My chakra is as thick as that of a super shadow level top level strongman. Bai Yu said proudly. TSK, it starts again. But I'm very curious, what kind of existence are you? I wanted to ask before, but I kept it in my heart and never asked. Tsunade asked faintly. As Tsunade said, Bai Yu's explanation to her before was an excuse like absorbing souls to become mature. At that time, Tsunade believed it, but later, she found that Bai Yu was not like this excuse. There must be some secrets that cannot be revealed, but now that things have come to this, she is Bai Yu's. What's the point of asking those questions? You can't beat him, and although you can scold him, Bai Yu's playful smile and thick face make Tsunade feel that Bai Yu is definitely not a slicker who sucks souls to become a slicker, but should have been a slicker for a long time. Well, I can't say it now. What I can say is that I still have a great hatred to avenge, and my enemy, even I can't defeat him now. I can only run away when I see him. No, strictly speaking, if I'm under his nose, I won't even have a chance to run, and I will be killed. Bai Yu looked at the night sky outside the window and said calmly. Ah. What kind of enemy can't even defeat you? Uchiha Makoto asked in great surprise. Should I say, you, what kind of person are you? Terumi Mei also asked curiously, with a hint of worry hidden deep in her eyes. I said I'm a little dragon man, do you believe it? Bai Yu asked very seriously. TSK, you're just making fun of us. Little dragon man. I'm the sage of 6 paths. Tsunade said with a look of disgust. What a waste of this atmosphere. You're so out of shape after 3 sentences. Terumi Mei rolled her eyes at Bai Yu and continued to concentrate on feeding Balin. I'll go see if there's any place in the kitchen that hasn't been cleaned up. Uchiha Makoto also left calmly. Seeing this situation, Bai Yu couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Hey, why doesn't anyone believe me when I tell the truth? Although I'm not a little dragon man, strictly speaking, I'm really a dragon man. A human with a dragon body. Seeing the 3 girls like this, Bai Yu didn't say much, but took a copy of the Konoha Times and started reading. It just so happened that, if he said too much, the 3 girls would only worry about it. It would be better not to know anything, and leave everything to me. After Bai Yu said this in his heart, he looked at the newspaper attentively, as if nothing had happened. Days passed by, and in a blink of an eye, young men of the same level as Uzumaki Naruto were about to graduate. On this day, Bai Ying and Bai Heo went to school early as usual, and Bai Yu was still at home as his full-time dad. Normally, women in this world stay at home to manage the housework after marriage. But Bai Yu is really too special. Not to mention his high position and power, his strength is still top in the ninja world. Managing the dragon group is a waste of talent for Bai Yu, so he can only be a master in Konoha. Because Bai Yu's strength is too incredible, all the big and small ninja villages in the ninja world jointly discussed and re-ranked the levels of ninjas. The ranking from low to high is as follows: Special Genin, Genin, Elite Genin, Special Chunin, Chunin, Elite Chunin, Special Jonin, Jonin, Elite Jonin, Quasi-Cage Elementary, Quasi-Cage Intermediate, Quasi-Cage Advanced, Cage Level, Super Cage Level, God Level, 6 Paths Level. After discussion, it was found that there were very few ninjas who could reach the level of God level ninjas. In addition to the first generation shadows of the major ninja villages, the only god level ninjas who were ranked in the ranks of god level ninjas were the second generation Hokage, Uchiha Madara, and some rebel ninjas. The only god level ninja still alive in the ninja world today was Bai Yu. However, there were many others who were about to reach the god level standard, but there was no such level as quasi-god level. According to the conclusion of the discussion, one must either become a god or not. There was absolutely no room for water in the god level existence. Therefore, in order to respect a god level ninja like Bai Yu, he had to be a full-time nanny at home. If there was anything important, he could just control it remotely. Chapter 335 Genius versus the last one. However, the atmosphere of the ninja school today is a little different. It is less mature and more solemn. Because the graduation exam is imminent, as long as you pass the exam, you will be a genin. Only those who have special abilities, but do not perform well in the exam can get the quota of special genin and graduate with genin, but the premise is that they must have extraordinary special abilities. Two flowers bloom, each showing its own branch. Some are happy and some are worried. Although everyone has some sadness in their hearts because of graduation, most people will suppress this sadness in their hearts. Becoming a genin is a glorious thing. But Uzumaki Naruto is really sad. In a hidden corner of the ninja school, Uzumaki Naruto is practicing himself. Clone technique. As Uzumaki Naruto skillfully made hand seals, a white mist appeared beside him with a bang. But what appeared was a fat Uzumaki Naruto who could not walk. Ah. You guy, can you walk? What happened to me? Uzumaki Naruto saw this clone, and he collapsed and grabbed his hair and shouted. You, don't talk. I can walk, hoo-hoo. So tired. The fat version of Uzumaki Naruto finished his words breathlessly, and just after taking a step, he disappeared with a bang. Uzumaki Naruto was completely petrified. Pay attention to the distribution of chakra when using the clone technique. Well, I'll do it again. This time, Uzumaki Naruto carefully controlled the chakra and formed a seal again, and it was still the familiar scene. The clones were no longer fat versions, but 3 clones that were obviously malnourished appeared. They disappeared just after they appeared for a moment. Uzumaki Naruto saw this scene and clenched his fists. I don't believe it. Uzumaki Naruto cheered himself up, but the next second, Uzumaki Naruto was discouraged. What's going on? Graduation is coming soon. How come even the simplest clone technique has become so bad? Hey, it would be better if I only took the battle test. Uzumaki Naruto said this to himself and couldn't help but think of the scene a few days ago in the back mountain when he used the chakra of the Ninetales to shatter a rock with one punch. Recalling the heroic words he said at that time, Uzumaki Naruto was angry again. Naruto, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? You are sweating. Are you secretly practicing because you are about to graduate? Bai Yu appeared beside Uzumaki Naruto at this time and said with a smile, Uzumaki Naruto sighed helplessly. Bai Yu didn't care. He raised his hands high, crossed them, supported the back of his head and said leisurely, okay, it's not a bad thing to practice more for yourself. Iruka sensei is organizing a gathering and asked me to come and call you. Uzumaki Naruto nodded and followed Bai Yu to the gathering point. Iruka saw that everyone was present, called out their names, and then coughed twice and said, okay, the graduation exam is coming soon. There's not much I can do. Let's organize a mock graduation exam today. Of course, the written exam is excluded. It's too late to review for the written exam now. Substitution, transformation, clone, and actual combat are the procedures to be tested today. Give everyone 5 minutes to adjust their status. It will start in 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, everyone began to face Iruka's test in an orderly manner. Substitution was easy and pleasant, and everyone passed. But when it came to the transformation, Iruka seemed to have thought of something and shouted loudly, transformation, Uzumaki Naruto. You don't have to take the test. As soon as Iruka finished speaking, his face turned red with embarrassment, and then he touched his nose. But the ninjas of the same level as Uzumaki Naruto were different. The boys whistled and cheered with a naughty smile. The girls blushed and looked at Uzumaki Naruto unhappily. Because Uzumaki Naruto's enhanced version of the harem technique has long been no secret. I heard that recently Uzumaki Naruto somehow got in touch with Jiraiya and was preparing to study an ultimate version of the harem technique. The two hit it off immediately, especially after Jiraiya saw Uzumaki Naruto's seduction technique. He generously used his small business as a research site, allowing Uzumaki Naruto to study this ninjutsu with peace of mind. The transformation technique was quickly passed. However, when it came to the clone technique, Uzumaki Naruto, who used to be able to handle it easily, had a problem, exactly the same as when he practiced it before, which made Iruka worried and black line in his eyes. Soon it was the last link, which was the actual combat confrontation stage. Coincidentally, because of the mistake in the clone technique, Uzumaki Naruto became the last one. Uchiha Sasuke is the first. Although Bai Yu and Bai Yu have Bai Yu's extra training, this cannot conceal Uchiha Sasuke's reputation as a genius, but the three people are not far apart. Strictly speaking, it is not an exaggeration to tie for first place. If it weren't for the problem with Uzumaki Naruto, the four of them could actually tie for first place. The last match, Uchiha Sasuke vs. Uzumaki Naruto. Iruka looked at the list, shouted loudly, and pushed out the circle of the battle. Oh my god. Genius against the last one. The market is open. Uzumaki Naruto defeated Uchiha Sasuke, 10-1. Oh my god. Brother, you are making such a big deal. 10-1. That's right. The greater the risk, the greater the income. That's right. Risk and income coexist. I'm going all out, betting 100 taels on Uchiha Sasuke to win. Go, you talk so domineeringly, but your actions are still very real. Are you kidding me? A genius, a last one. I'll bet on the genius no matter what. Hearing about this battle, everyone immediately started to act passionately, looking at the two people on the field with great interest. Sister, I heard that Naruto became the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Bai Yu and Bai Yu stood together, and Bai Yu said to Bai Yu with great interest, hush, this matter is still confidential. But Uchiha Sasuke should know. Look at Uchiha Sasuke's eyes. He is very serious, no longer contemptuous as before. Bai Yu first told Bai Yu to keep it confidential, and then looked at Uchiha Sasuke and said, hey, you are so careful in observation. You are attracted to Sasuke, this cold ice cube. Bai Yu said jokingly. Don Bai Yu hit Bai Yu on the forehead. Are you looking for death? How is it possible? This guy's not my type. Bai Yu said unhappily. That's right. As soon as Bai Yu finished speaking, a figure appeared beside him. Heyo. You are here. I have been looking for you for a long time. Third sister. The figure said to Bai Yu with a smile, and then greeted Bai Yu. Shianshin. I have been here for a long time. Okay. Moreover, you have been looking at me since before, and you just came here now. Bai Yu said unhappily. Shianshin smiled awkwardly when he heard Bai Yu's words, and then blushed. Then he glanced at Bai Yu, said nothing, and continued to watch Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto. You guy, really, you just said one word and then stopped talking. It's boring. Bai Yu said unhappily, and then he also focused on the game. Bai Yu smiled secretly and said nothing. Chapter 336 The battle begins. Bai Yu walked to Shianshin and whispered, Bai Yu's emotional intelligence needs to be improved. Thank you for your hard work, Shianshin. After that, she covered her mouth and smiled. As for Bai Yu's train of thought, Bai Yu could only attribute this to Bai Yu. It's okay, third sister. As a girl, she matures earlier than boys. Although Bai Yu's words did not make it clear, Shianshin could understand what Bai Yu meant. Shianshin blushed at first, then smiled and said something. Bai Yu looked at Shianshin with red cheeks, did not speak, but smiled and looked at the competition field. Sasuke. Come on, I'm better than you now. Uzumaki Naruto stood opposite Uchiha Sasuke, with his hands on his hips. His arrogant personality was instantly restored. The loss caused by the two clones that were almost diarrhea just now was instantly forgotten. The last one. Uchiha Sasuke spat out two words coldly. Wow, Sasuke is so handsome. As the number one fan of Uchiha Sasuke, Iruno Sakura saw Uchiha Sasuke's aloof look, and her eyes were beating like hearts. She put her hands on her chest and said like a fangirl, "Sasuke, beat that fool who doesn't know how to live or die." Yamanaka Ino's enthusiasm for Uchiha Sasuke is not inferior to Hiruno Sakura. Ino pig. You are not allowed to cheer for Sasuke. Hiruno Sakura looked at Yamanaka Ino angrily and said, "High forehead. Why can you cheer for Sasuke, but I can't? I have to cheer for Sasuke. I'm Sasuke's real girlfriend. You are at most a mistress. Not even a mistress." Yamanaka Ino replied unyieldingly, "I'm Sasuke's real girlfriend. You are the mistress." Hiruno Sakura said angrily. The two girls had a fierce dispute over Uchiha Sasuke in the audience. Shikamaru, who was standing aside, looked at the two people, then looked at Uchiha Sasuke, who looked unmoved, and Uzumaki Naruto, who looked constipated, and sighed. He secretly said it was troublesome, and then walked aside, secretly trying to figure out the knowledge that Bai Yu had given him. Akimichi Choza watched the excitement and ate potato chips, feeling very uncomfortable. Uzumaki Naruto glanced at Hiruno Sakura, feeling extremely disappointed. He looked at Uchiha Sasuke, who looked cold and indifferent. This guy's really hateful. He is really fearless, because he is favored. This world is really unfair. Asshole. Take my punch. Uzumaki Naruto couldn't bear it anymore, and punched Uchiha Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke opened his Sharingan with both eyes. In Uchiha Sasuke's eyes, Uzumaki Naruto's movement slowed down instantly, and then he tilted his head in a chic manner, followed by a turn, and a handsome back whip kick, whipping Uzumaki Naruto. I have to say that the people in this world have very good muscles and bones. For a while, the two of them launched various offensive postures. Some anti-human extreme attacks emerged one after another. Iruka nodded secretly while watching from the side. I have to say that this kind of strength is already very good among the genin. And Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke obviously have some reservations. With the crazy cheers of Hiruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino, Uzumaki Naruto was like taking drugs. The speed of the attack was getting faster and faster, and the offensive was getting more and more fierce. Unconsciously, a layer of strange red light flashed in Uzumaki Naruto's eyes. The body also exuded a bubble-like light red chakra, which was the chakra of the Nine Tails. Feeling the unnaturalness of Uzumaki Naruto, Iruka frowned. Since there was no obvious change in Uzumaki Naruto, he couldn't tell whether Uzumaki Naruto was controlled by the Nine Tails. As his teacher, he must know that Uzumaki Naruto became the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. So when Iruka saw that there was just a little sign of Uzumaki's Ingran, he became nervous. Uchiha Sasuke gradually frowned because Uzumaki Naruto's fighting power was rising. Naruto, admit defeat. If this goes on, I will have to show my real skills. Uchiha Sasuke frowned and thought for a while. If he continued to fight with Uzumaki Naruto, he would have to use his long-trained ninjutsu. In his impression, he only heard Uchiha Fugaku mention that Uzumaki Naruto became the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, and he was not very clear about the rest. Although he was a little annoyed with Uzumaki Naruto, after the test of life and death, Uchiha Sasuke did not want to hurt Uzumaki Naruto. What a joke. I advise you to show your real skills. Because I haven't shown my real skills either. Uzumaki Naruto said proudly. I'm not kidding you, admit defeat. Uchiha Sasuke was angry, but he still patiently said it again. If it were in the past, he would not do this. I'm not kidding you either, hurry up. Uzumaki Naruto also said proudly. Uchiha Sasuke didn't say anything. He was very angry. If that's the case, don't blame me. Uchiha Sasuke looked at Uzumaki Naruto coldly, jumped back a distance, and then quickly formed seals with both hands. Fire escape, great fireball technique. Uchiha Sasuke shouted in a deep voice, and then the seal was completed. As Uchiha Sasuke inhaled, his lower abdomen began to swell, and like a wriggle, the swollen part quickly came to the throat. As Uchiha Sasuke spit out, a ball of fierce flame sprayed from Uchiha Sasuke's mouth towards Uzumaki Naruto. Ninjutsu. Uchiha Sasuke's move shocked the friends around him. A genin can release ninjutsu. Uchiha Sasuke's talent is indeed not to be underestimated. Iruka thought about it, and was about to save Uzumaki Naruto. But just as Iruka was about to move, he stopped, looking straight at Uzumaki Naruto. I saw that Uzumaki Naruto was covered with a layer of red tail beast clothes. When seeing Uchiha Sasuke making hand seals, Uzumaki Naruto secretly thought that it was not good. When seeing the speed of Uchiha Sasuke's hand seals, Uzumaki Naruto cleverly used the power of the Nine Tails. Damn it, I wanted to save this power for the graduation exam, so that I could show off, but I didn't expect it to be exposed like this. Uzumaki Naruto gritted his teeth, controlled the claws transformed by the Nine Tails chakra, and resisted the fireballs ejected by Uchiha Sasuke, while thinking to himself, fire escape, dragon fire technique. Uchiha Sasuke was stunned when he saw Uzumaki Naruto's tail beast, but then, the strong and arrogant Uchiha Sasuke burst into a fighting spirit, and his hands made hand seals again, releasing another ninjutsu. The two ninjutsu connected seamlessly. As soon as one was finished, before the residual power dissipated, another ninjutsu followed. A straight line of flame quickly shot towards Uzumaki Naruto. What a pity. Uzumaki Naruto is still unable to use the Nine Tails chakra perfectly. In addition to basic ninjutsu, Uzumaki Naruto has not learned any other ninjutsu. He can only rely on the Nine Tails chakra to passively take the beating and resist. In the past, he could use the clone technique to sneak attack, but now, Uzumaki Naruto can't even use the face clone technique well. Chapter 337 My brother's love is heavy. But who is Uzumaki Naruto? I saw a sinister smirk on Uzumaki Naruto's face, which was originally struggling to support. He suddenly increased the output of the Nine Tails chakra. He threw Uchiha Sasuke's ninjutsu aside. Ha ha ha. Sasuke, the next one is my ultimate move. You have to be careful. Uzumaki Naruto shouted proudly, because Uzumaki Naruto already had a whole set of battle plans that he thought were perfect in his mind. Hearing this, Uchiha Sasuke couldn't help but get serious. The companions who were watching around also looked at Uzumaki Naruto seriously. It can be said that today's Uzumaki Naruto has exceeded everyone's expectations. No one expected Uzumaki Naruto to have today's performance. That kind of combat power has made everyone look at him with admiration. Even Naruto, who was thinking secretly on the side, couldn't help but watch it seriously. Then Uzumaki Naruto began to rush towards Uchiha Sasuke. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Uzumaki Naruto. Uchiha Sasuke looked at Uzumaki Naruto, who began to make hand seals. Is this the clone technique? I heard that Naruto is good at using the clone technique to attack in combination. Uchiha Sasuke watched Uzumaki Naruto's movements expressionlessly, and was secretly on guard. But when Uzumaki Naruto rushed in front of Uchiha Sasuke, his hands suddenly changed. Seduction technique. Uzumaki Naruto shouted loudly, and his body banged and changed into an indescribable appearance. The people around saw this scene, and their eyes almost popped out. Exclamation mark. All the girls present were blushing, and the boys spurted out 2 columns of blood. Even Iruka was no exception. Uchiha Sasuke, on the contrary, looked stern. A powerful roundhouse kick kicked in Uzumaki Naruto's face. Uzumaki Naruto was stunned. Because of the strength, Uzumaki Naruto was knocked away. During the flight, Uzumaki Naruto was still wondering, what's wrong with this guy? My special skills are ineffective? Uzumaki Naruto was kicked out of the circle and lost the battle. This idiot. Naruto wiped his nose, cursed inwardly with a helpless look, and sat down next to him again to think about the knowledge that Bai Yu taught him. Although Uzumaki Naruto was lying on the ground, no one helped him. Instead, the girls led by Haruno Sakura began to punch and kick Uzumaki Naruto. Damn idiot. You actually use this kind of ninjutsu to tarnish my Sasuke's eyes. Idiot. It was a farce, and everyone who had originally looked up to Uzumaki Naruto suddenly returned to normal. However, Uchiha Sasuke didn't think so, because he could see that Uzumaki Naruto already had the potential to surpass him. Now it's just that Uzumaki Naruto doesn't know how to use it. Once he knows, it will undoubtedly be a matter of time before he surpasses him. After finishing a day's class, Uchiha Sasuke found Uchiha Itachi and gave him strict training. After seeing Uchiha Sasuke's extremely serious look, Uchiha Itachi started chatting with Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke, why do you suddenly want me to train you? Uchiha Itachi drank a sip of tea and said gently. Brother, I think I'm still not strong enough. I want to be the strongest ninja, and I don't want to see anyone surpass me, so I have to train hard. Uchiha Sasuke said firmly. Who is the strongest? Pretty? Mustard is funny online. Aren't you already very good now? Seeing Uchiha Sasuke's determined little eyes, Uchiha Itachi couldn't help but poke Sasuke's forehead and said with a smile. Uchiha Sasuke covered his forehead. His cheeks flushed as he said, I'm not good enough. Take today for example, if I hadn't been able to perform 2 ninjutsu, I might have lost to Uzumaki Naruto. I have to say, if Uzumaki Naruto didn't know how to use his potential, he would be stronger than me. So, in order to prevent him from surpassing me, I have to train hard. Naruto? The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki? Hearing this, Uchiha Itachi fell into deep thought. Sasuke, I have a suggestion for you. If you want to become stronger, going to find Lord Bai Yu should be your best choice. Uchiha Itachi thought for a while, and said with a smile. Brother, can't you train me? In his heart, Uchiha Sasuke still wanted Uchiha Itachi to teach him, because he enjoyed the feeling of being taken care of by his brother. You are different from me. I'm on the path of illusion. I have given you everything I can teach you. The rest can only be practiced by yourself. You can perform 2 ninjutsu now. Do you know why? Back then, Lord Bai Yu developed a set of chakra training methods for me. Later, my father asked Lord Bai Yu to develop a set of training methods for the Uchiha clan. That's why the people of the Uchiha clan have become more pure in chakra. If you want to become stronger, I believe Lord Bai Yu will definitely have a way. Moreover, Lord Bai Yu is very easy to talk to and very kind. It's just that I don't dare to go there often. Uchiha Itachi said awkwardly. Brother, why don't you dare to go there often? Didn't you say that Lord Bai Yu is very kind? You are lying. Uchiha Sasuke said with a sneer. I snatched one of Lord Bai Yu's daughters away. What do you think? It's like if you have a daughter and another boy snatches one away from you. How do you feel? Uchiha Itachi said even more embarrassedly. I don't know. Uchiha Sasuke said very straightforwardly. After all, he was still young and didn't know anything. And his EQ was even lower than Bai Yu's. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Uzumaki Naruto's special skills to fail. What everyone didn't know was that there was actually another person whose special skills failed at that time, and that was Bai Yu. It's just that everyone's attention was on Uzumaki Naruto at that time, and no one noticed Bai Yu's situation. You will know it later. Or, if you want to become stronger, you should still find Master Bai Yu. By the way, I also heard that there is someone who can help you become stronger. That is Hatake Kakashi, known as the Thunder Fang of Konoha. Think about it yourself. Father and mother will be home late tonight and have things to deal with. I will go to cook for you. Uchiha Itachi poked Uchiha Sasuke's forehead, said gently, and then walked towards the kitchen. Uchiha Sasuke wanted to think about it carefully, but when he heard that it was Uchiha Itachi who was cooking today, the corners of Uchiha Sasuke's mouth twitched. It's not that Uchiha Itachi's cooking is not delicious. It's really that Uchiha Itachi is too serious when cooking for Uchiha Sasuke. I don't want anything to affect Uchiha Sasuke's appetite. The taste and appearance must be in place. I remember that one time Uchiha Sasuke was sick, and Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Missy were not at home. So Uchiha Itachi fried a fried egg for Uchiha Sasuke. Originally, only one fried egg was enough, but when Uchiha Sasuke trembled from the room to the kitchen to prepare for dinner, he saw a kitchen full of fried eggs. According to Uchiha Itachi, the fried eggs on this piece were overcooked, and the fried eggs on that piece were undercooked. The shape of the fried egg here is not good looking, and the fried egg in my hand is the best in appearance and taste. When Uchiha Itachi was explaining seriously, there was still a burnt fried egg on his shoulder. This touched Uchiha Sasuke, but he also felt a little helpless. His brother's love is heavy. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 338, Guiding the Selection of Jonin. As the graduation exam approached, Bai Yu and Bai Yu were working hard to practice the basic ninjutsu and the ninjutsu that Bai Yu had taught them. Bai Yu did not teach other ninjutsu, because Baiki and Baiyao were enough for those simple things. However, Baiki did not start teaching Baiying and Baihao simple ninjutsu, because he was too lazy to teach them. When they graduated and became genin, they would definitely be guided by jonin. At the critical moment, Baiyao's thoughtfulness was reflected. Baiyao taught Baiying a simple lightning escape, lightning net. This was a simplified version of the low-level ninjutsu that Baiyao had researched himself. He also taught Baihao a fire escape, fire blade slash. This technique was created by several of Bai Yu's apprentices, but the level was too low, so they were casually left at Bai Yu's house, but it was found by Baiyao. Baiyao had no intention of using this technique, but it was just right to teach Baihao at this time. It must be said that Baiying and Baihao's talents are really good. They can learn it as soon as they are taught. What they lack is the hand speed, proficiency, and control of the seal. Bai Yu saw that the two were working so hard, so he didn't care. The school had a few days off before the graduation exams, and the exams would be held at the beginning of the semester. Whether one succeeded or not depended on one's own efforts. In the blink of an eye, the graduation exams began. All the graduating students were partying. Only some of those who did not graduate, such as Uzumaki Naruto, were depressed and sighing in a corner of the school. Baiying and Baihao returned home happily with the ninja forehead protectors, and naturally received praise from Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Meitarumi, as well as praise from Baiki and Baiyao. However, Bai Yu did not express anything, but handed Baiying an exquisitely shaped longbow and Baihao an equally top-notch double-edged longsword as encouragement. In Bai Yu's eyes, graduation is normal, and not graduating is abnormal. How could one's own kind be so ruined? Bai Yu pondered in his heart without making a sound. Why is this scene so familiar? Thoughts shuttled back and forth, past and present lives, and began to recall over and over again. After a moment, Bai Yu shouted in his heart, "Oh my god, I've seen this episode." Then Bai Yu asked, "Jinga, Heioa, did Naruto pass the exam?" "No, that guy, I don't know what happened. He used to be very good at clones, but recently he always creates useless clones. It was the same for today's exam, so he didn't pass." Baihao said, puzzled. "That's right. What was the plot after that?" Bai Yu then fell into deep thought. "Forget it, I only saw a few scenes in total, and there was no reference value." Bai Yu smiled and chatted with a few children for a while, then took Tsunade and Orochimaru back to the room. Why didn't he take Terumi Mei? Because there was another little burden, Balin. Terumi Mei looked at Bai Yu, who was grinning at her, scraped Bai Yu with her beautiful eyes, and then helplessly carried Balin to a quiet room. The next morning, Terumi Mei's condition was completely different from that of Tsunade and Orochimaru. As a child, Terumi naturally did not sleep well that night. Although Tsunade and Orochimaru also did not sleep well that night, the two of them had rosy and shiny complexions. Sometimes, the best skincare product is this. After the exam, Baiying and Baihao had a 3-day vacation, and then they went to school to report, fill out forms, and take personal photos. The files were recorded in the Ninja Archives room of the Hokage building. The next day, Bai Yu had just finished breakfast and was about to hold Balin for a stroll in the yard, but was called to the Hokage building for a meeting. However, Bai Yu still left a seal for Balin. If he didn't let him, many people whose souls were taken away to sleep would appear at the door of the Bai mansion. After Bai Yu left, there was nothing serious in the dragon group. Tsunade, Orochimaru and Meitarumi were all at home. Baiki and Baiyao were naturally not at home. They had a sweet date, so not long after Bai Yu left, Baiki and Baiyao went out one after another. Tsunade was also bored when she saw this. "Makoto, Mimi, let's go. Let's go shopping," Tsunade said boredly, while looking at Makoto and Mimi beside her. "Okay, but what about Lina?" "Let's forget it," Orochimaru said with a smile, then looked at Balin and said with a loving smile, "You guys go, I'll take care of Lina at home." Terumi Mei said with a smile, "What's the matter? Jinga and Heioa, you two come in." Tsunade said calmly at first, then shouted to Baiying and Baihao, who were practicing in the yard outside, "Mom, what's wrong?" Baihao asked puzzledly as soon as he came in. I'm going shopping with your second and third mothers, and you and Jinga take care of Lina at home. That's it. Let's go, Mikoto and Mimi. Tsunade gave Beiyo and Beiying an order without question, then handed Bailin to Beiying, who looked confused. Ignoring Beiyo's stunned look, she hooked her fingers at Uchiha Mikoto and Terumi Mei. Uchiha Mikoto thought about it and realized that these two little guys hadn't taken care of their younger brother yet, so it would be good to let them take care of him. She smiled and said nothing, and pulled Mei Terumi to change clothes. Of course, Tsunade also changed clothes. The three women hadn't dressed themselves up so beautifully for a long time. Tsunade, needless to say, after Beiyu's training, Uchiha Mikoto is now also in good shape. Not to mention Mei Terumi, this is a woman who exudes charm everywhere. Beiying, Beiyo, and Bailin were left with question marks on their faces. The three women went out shopping. Moreover, Tsunade took Beiyu's 2 bank cards and gave one to Mei Terumi. Needless to say, Uchiha Mikoto was the first woman to have Beiyu's bank card. Beiyu, who was in a meeting in the Hokage building, felt a pain in his heart and then frowned. What happened? But Beiyu didn't take it seriously and continued to listen to Sarutobi Hiruzen talking about what happened last night. The more Namikaze Minato listened, the more embarrassed his face became. The reason is that a teacher named Sujetsu fooled Uzumaki Naruto and stole the seal scroll that had been eliminated long ago. Because of Beiyu's presence, the seal scroll had been updated long ago, making it safer and more confidential. There were not many important forbidden techniques on the previous seal scroll, so it was not strictly guarded, but few people knew about it. Later, Iruka found Uzumaki Naruto and staged a drama of deep affection between master and apprentice, which moved Uzumaki Naruto. Then Uzumaki Naruto broke out and actually learned the forbidden technique of multiple shadow clones. Then Uzumaki Naruto knocked Sujetsu down. He successfully obtained the quota for special genin, which can be regarded as a successful graduation. However, Beiyu was not surprised by this, but thought in his heart that this was the plot. But then, Namikaze Minato began to talk about the candidates for this year's guidance of Jonin. Beiyu was stunned by what he said. How come these candidates are all his apprentices? Chapter 339, The Hidden Genius of the Tachibana Clan. Hatake Kakashi guides Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, and Hiruno Sakura. Might Guy guides Lee, Hyuga Niji, and Tenten. Yuhi Kyono guides Inuzuka Kiba, Hyuga Hinata, and Aburame. Sarutobi Asuma guides Narashikamaru, Yamanaka Ino, and Akimichi Choji. As for Beiying and Beiyo, since there is no suitable third team member and guiding Jonin, it's up to you. Beiyu, do you have any ideas? Namikaze Minato said with a smile. Oh my god, no. How come they are all my disciples? Beiyu asked blankly. How dare you say that? You bastard. I wanted to ask you, you said you would not poach people from Mayanbu, but in the end, you poached my son. What's wrong with letting your disciple be a guiding Jonin? Don't want to. Hatake Tsukumo looked at Beiyu with resentment and said dissatisfiedly. Oh my god, you're so crazy, Tsukumo. You're so grown up, but you act like a little girl. How could I poach people? They were all voluntary. If you can poach them to the Anbu, I'd be happy to do that. Also, don't think I don't know that you played the emotional card and poached my little apprentice, Moonlight Gale, and Yuzuki Yugeo. 2 good talents. Beiyu said with a look of grievance. Then you let Jinga and Heioa come to the Anbu. Hatake Tsukumo said immediately. Okay. I said why are you so excited? You're thinking of this. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. It turned out that Hatake Tsukumo wanted Beiying and Beiyo. Beiyu understood it. He said firmly immediately. Stingy guy. My sons are all in your dragon group. Can't you let your sons come? Also, Beiki, Beiyo, Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Izumi, you poached several good talents from the Anbu back then. Hatake Tsukumo saw that his plan failed and immediately took up the righteousness and said, impossible. If you have the ability, poach people from our dragon group. Our dragon group has no seals, so you can poach them as you like. TSK. Beiyu finished speaking and gave Hatake Tsukumo a middle finger. You. Humph. Hatake Tsukumo also gave him a middle finger in return. The two looked at each other, and like angry children, they turned their heads away, panting, closing their eyes and saying nothing. When other senior people saw this, they all tried not to laugh out loud. Looking at this scene, Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't think much about it, but smiled happily. This atmosphere was many times stronger than it was back then. Everyone had no selfish motives. They were all for Konoha. They didn't have any defense in their hearts. They were all simple. Namikaze Minato also smiled helplessly. Although this was not conducive to work, it was harmless. The two seemed like this, but in fact, they were both people who valued the overall situation. It was not bad to have such a fuss occasionally. You, how about it? Do you have any ideas about the selection of the instructor of the Jonin? Or the allocation of personnel? Namikaze Minato asked with a smile. It's nothing. Bai Yu and Bai Yu should choose a senior ninja to lead them. There are some things that I, as a father, can't teach. Just like Baiki and Bai Yu, they were in the Anbu before, and they grew up very fast under the guidance of the old people. Bai Yu thought for a while and said calmly, "You are quite cruel. Aren't you afraid that your precious daughter and son will suffer outside?" Hatake Tsukumo said, "Didn't your son suffer a lot? What's wrong? My daughter and son are worse than Kakashi," Bai Yu said arrogantly. "I don't know who, because of some things, beat an old man from the rock village and made him lie in bed for half a year before he could walk, and for a full 8 months before he could go to work." Hatake Tsukumo said in a gloomy tone, "TSK, I don't even know who, because of some things on the battlefield, that white light flashed." TSK, Bai Yu said unyieldingly. "The reason is that Hatake Kakashi, Uchiha Obito, and Nohara were in the same group. If Bai Yu hadn't arrived in time, Hatake Tsukumo would have gone crazy and vented wildly on the battlefield." Hatake Tsukumo's mouth twitched, and he didn't say anything. He looked at Bai Yu in tacit understanding, then raised his middle finger at the same time, and didn't say anything again. In that case, Bai Yu should follow Sarutobi Asuma's group, and Bai Yu should follow Yuhi Kunoha's group. There are only a few ninjas in these two groups who can fight. When the Chunin exam comes, they will be tested separately. Or if there are suitable ninjas, they can be pulled into a group for the Chunin exam. How about it? Namikaze Minato thought for a while and said, "Oh, I have to say that everyone here is not good. Look at me, then look at the Hyuga family, and then look at Fugaku. If one of the families has one more, it would be perfect, really." TSK. When Bai Yu said this, everyone in the room smiled awkwardly, and then looked at Bai Yu with a bad look in their eyes. "Haha, I'm just kidding. Don't mind it." Bai Yu felt everyone's resentment and immediately laughed, softening the topic. "I do have a child in my family, but he's a little special. Even Jinga doesn't know the details." Tachibana Yui Musashi said with a complicated look in his eyes. "Oh, I haven't heard Tachibana Yui Musashi mention it either." Bai Yu was stunned when he heard it. This child was once an orphan. It was because of that incident that our Tachibana Yui clan decided to join Konoha. After the child's parents were killed, the power of blood was activated. Their family was at the edge of the village. When I went there, it was already a day later. The child stood coldly on the pile of corpses, guarding the corpses of his parents. Whoever came closer, he would attack. Because I have the token of his parents, he didn't resist too much with the little consciousness he had left. I comforted him in the secret room of the family. Except for me, he would attack anyone who went there. After Tachibana Yui Musashi finished speaking, he couldn't help but sigh. Hyuga Hayashi beside him patted Tachibana Yui Musashi on the shoulder. Tachibana Yui Musashi smiled bitterly and indicated that Hyuga Hayashi was fine. "Ah, what a good seedling. I also know a little about your family bloodline." After such a long time, his consciousness has not been completely eroded, and his blood has not dried up after such a long time. It is probably because you often give him some blood enhancing drugs or supplements. Bai Yu touched his chin, his eyes turned, and said with a smile, "Indeed, I give this child a family secret potion to enhance blood every day." Tachibana Yui Musashi said with a bitter smile, "No matter how much you talk, it is better to act. If I can save this child, I will send another guiding ninja. Uchiha Shizu should be a good candidate. When the time comes, this little guy will join the dragon group, and, after some training, He will definitely be a ninja with great potential. Bai Yu said with a smile. Is it appropriate for you to poach people so blatantly? Hatake Tsukumo said indignantly. TSK, if you have the ability, go and save him. If you can't save him, don't say anything. Bai Yu said arrogantly. Hatake Tsukumo was so angry, but it was just as Bai Yu said. He couldn't save him. He gave Bai Yu a middle finger and said nothing. Chapter 340, Juyaing. Minato, if the child of the Tachibana Yui family can really be cured by me, then let's assign this child to Baiing and the others. Bai Yu said to Minato Namikaze. After all, Minato Namikaze is the Hokage, and he should be respected. No problem at all. These children are the future of Konoha. Besides, Uchiha Shizu is a very good Jonin to guide. Minato Namikaze said with a smile. Okay, brother Musashi, let's go. Take me over to have a look. Bai Yu nodded and said to Tachibana Yui Musashi with a smile. Tachibana Yui Musashi glanced at Minato Namikaze and Sarutobi Hiruzen, and the two nodded. Tachibana Yui Musashi stood up and made a gesture of invitation to Bai Yu. Bai Yu also nodded and followed Tachibana Yui Musashi to leave. The others continued the meeting. After walking with Tachibana Yui Musashi for a long time, this place is far away from the center of Konoha, but it is also the edge of the center. For a large clan, the location is still good. Speaking of which, this is also Bai Yu's first time to enter the Tachibana Yui family. There was a pair of lions at the door, and two members of the Juayao clan were standing guard in front of the door. Seeing Juayao Musashi and Bai Yu, they all stood up their swords and leaned heavily on their chests. This was a kind of etiquette. As soon as the door opened, there was a small martial arts arena in front, with many young members of the Juayao clan practicing swordsmanship. This gate was the clan gate, a wall that covered the entire Juayao clan. Unlike other clans, which were all free range, the Juayao clan was very concentrated. It can be seen that the cohesion was also very strong. Juayao Musashi lived in the innermost courtyard, and there were houses of clan members next to him. It can be said that it was a village within a village, a clan within a clan, one ring after another. Under the leadership of Juayao Musashi, Bai Yu and Juayao Musashi came to a secret room. This is where the child is. This is a token of his parents. Juayao Musashi said, and handed Bai Yu a jade pendant. Bai Yu took a look at the jade pendant and waved his hand. No, don't worry. Bai Yu smiled and then pushed open the door of the secret room. Without Tachibana Utakashi's instructions, Bai Yu had already seen through how to open the secret room door. After all, the head of the dragon group was not in vain. Tachibana Utakashi also followed in. Bai Yu looked at the surrounding environment. It was pitch black, with only some exhaust vents. The night was nothing to Bai Yu. Bai Yu, who had the Dharma Eye, clearly saw a boy with a pale face and red eyes, looking at Bai Yu with murderous intent, without a trace of humanity. When he saw Tachibana Utakashi coming in, his eyes were obviously stunned, and then he ignored him, just staring at Bai Yu, with a vigilant face. This boy was well taken care of by Tachibana Utakashi. There was no dirt on his body, and his clothes were also newly changed not long ago. It was just that his limbs were tied with chains, but not very tight, just restricting the boy from leaving the secret room. What's the name of this child? It's so pitiful, what a good seedling. Bai Yu turned to Tachibana Utakashi and said, his name is Tachibana Ruki. His talent is stronger than Tachibana Yukio, but, Tachibana Ruki said with a sigh. Okay, let me check it out. Bai Yu patted Tachibana Ruki on the shoulder and said, please be careful. Tachibana Ruki nodded and reminded him. Bai Yu patted Tachibana Ruki on the shoulder again, without saying anything. Instead, he slowly approached Tachibana Ruki. Raw Tachibana Ruki noticed Bai Yu's action, and immediately became alert, and roared as a warning. TSK. Bai Yu sighed, and shook his head. But he didn't stop. Tachibana Ruki roared again, and his blood and energy burst out. The red blood light illuminated the secret room, and the blood and energy on his body slowly condensed into a phantom of a peerless fierce god behind him. This fierce god is also the image of Tachibana Ruki, but that kind of fierce aura is not to be underestimated. What a good seedling. Bai Yu saw this situation, his eyes lit up, and he couldn't help but praise. Yes, Jinga is already very strong, but even he can't reach this level. If there is no problem with the precise control and cohesion of ki and blood, this child should be comparable to me. Juyamashi couldn't help but clench his fists and said excitedly. Bai Yu continued to approach Juyang. When he was 3 steps away from Juyang, Bai Yu looked at Juyang's eyes carefully. He found that the child was still conscious, but it was somewhat similar to Baiki's situation back then, but it was more serious than Baiki. With this discovery, Bai Yu was also very happy and immediately performed a purification technique on Juyang. As Bai Yu performed, a white light enveloped Juyang. 1 to purify the heart. Dissolve the hostility in the heart. 2 to purify the body. Purify the whole body of evil spirits. 2-pronged approach to eliminate the murderous aura that affects the mind. Juyang, who was enveloped by the white light, began to emit black air from his body. Exclamation mark. At the same time, he kept screaming. Seeing this, Tachibana Rutakashi felt very distressed. After so many years of care, Tachibana Rutakashi had already regarded Tachibana Rutakashi as his own son. It must be said that Tachibana Rutakashi is also a ruthless person. Regardless of the burning pain on his body, as if he was splashed with magma, he looked at Bai Yu with a fierce light in his eyes. At this time, he believed that his pain was caused by the person in front of him, and only by killing him could he get rid of it. The blood in Tachibana Rutakashi's body boiled again, and the phantom of the blood and ki behind him became more and more substantial. In Tachibana Rutakashi's hand, a single-edged long sword condensed by the power of blood and ki appeared. Raw. Accompanied by an inhuman beast roar, Tachibana Rutakashi slashed at Bai Yu with a sword. The scorching blood and ki made Tachibana Rutakashi frown, but he did not move, because he knew that this was nothing to Bai Yu, and nothing to himself. Ouch. You're quite fierce. I'll stand here and let you chop me. You may not be able to chop me to death, even if you chop me until your hands are weak. Bai Yu said softly with a face full of interest, and then a layer of golden light gradually emerged on his body. He silently performed the secret method of Akala. As expected, when the red glowing longsword hit Bai Yu, a metal collision sound broke out. Bai Yu smiled at Juyang and increased the strength of the purification technique. The white light shrouding Juyang became more intense. Raw. The sudden and fierce pain made the blood and ki longsword in Juyang's hand instantly turn into nothingness. Curled up on the ground, howling in pain. I have to say, this is too serious. Fortunately, I didn't kill too many people back then. Fortunately, I was controlled by Juyu Musashi for so many years. Even more fortunately, I met me. Bai Yu squinted his eyes, glanced at Juyang, and said to himself, then closed his eyes, and continued to perform the secret method. Bai Yu was concentrating on performing the secret technique, while Juyang curled up, fainted from the pain, then woke up from the pain, then fainted from the pain, over and over again. Chapter 341 Genius Teacher. Time passed little by little, and Tachibana Musashi was outside dealing with clan affairs. Whenever he had time, he would check the situation in the secret room. Finally, Tachibana Musashi simply opened the door of the secret room, so that he could arrive in time, if there was any movement. However, a day passed, and there was no movement in the secret room, only the occasional painful howling. During this period, Namikaze Minato, Sarutobi Hiruzen and others also came to see. However, when they saw Bai Yu performing the secret method, they did not say anything. Because Bai Yu was there was basically no big problem. If even Bai Yu could not solve it, then no one could solve it. The second day passed. Today is the third day, and it is also the last day of the task of assigning guidance to the Jonin. Uchiha Shizu was called to the Tachibana Yu clan, and Namikaze Minato also came. Uchiha Shizu saw Bai Yu performing the secret method, and felt a little familiar. After thinking for a long time, isn't this the secret method that Kira always uses? It is said that Kira is too murderous. Could it be that this genin who is about to become his guidance is also too murderous? Looking at this painful look, is it not that secret method? However, Minato, Namikaze and Shizu Uchiha arrived at a coincidence. After waiting for a while, they saw Tachibana Ruki curled up on the ground roaring and twitching violently. After shouting "Dad! Mom!" he fainted again. Before fainting again, the red light in his eyes disappeared. He returned to his normal color and then fainted. Did I hear it right? This child is talking? Tachibana Ruka's eyes lit up, grabbed Bai Yu's shoulders, and said excitedly, his tone trembling, a sense of disbelief, but the excitement in his eyes proved how much he expected all this to be true. Bai Yu was also very moved when he saw Tachibana Ruka's look. After all, it was not easy for the clan leader to treat him like this and to raise the orphans of the clan as his own descendants. Bai Yu smiled and said, "You heard it wrong." "What?" Question mark. Tachibana Ruki was stunned, Minato Namikaze was stunned, and Uchiha Shizu was also stunned. Namikaze, Minato and Uchiha Shizu also heard it and thought there would be a perfect ending. Bai Yu's sudden fever caught them off guard. Haha. Just kidding, it's true. Bai Yu laughed. Now Tachibana Musashi was embarrassed. Bai Yu's excitement was gone in an instant. He didn't know whether he should celebrate or what. Yu is really, he doesn't do anything about people's affairs. Namikaze Minato smiled helplessly and said secretly in his heart, "You, what about this child?" Tachibana Musashi asked with concern. However, Bai Yu knew what Tachibana Musashi wanted to ask, so he waved his hand and said, "Tachibana Musashi is fine now. He should just sleep for a few days. When he wakes up, you can tell him what happened in the past few years. When he figured it out, he can report to Uchiha Shizu's team." Minato, thank you for your hard work on the rest. Bai Yu said very straightforwardly. I know, I will send someone to handle the file. When the time comes, just let this child make up a photo. Namikaze Minato said with a smile. Well, do I really want to be a coaching jonin? Uchiha Shizu touched his head awkwardly. Why, do you have any objections? Bai Yu said with his eyes narrowed. No, I don't have any objections. I have never been a coaching jonin. I'm afraid that I can't teach well. Uchiha Shizu said awkwardly, but he was stopped by Bai Yu. I think you refused because you became a coaching jonin and you have less time to spend with Shizune. You did a good job when you were the captain. Why did you fail at the critical moment? Bai Yu frowned and interrupted Uchiha Shizu's excuse. Without waiting for Uchiha Shizu to speak, Bai Yu looked at the ceiling and said slowly, it seems that Shizune has influenced you. Should I talk to this girl and stay away from you? Bai Yu said thoughtfully, touching his chin. Teacher, Lord Hokage, I thank you for your trust in me. I think I'm fully capable of doing this. I will do a great job in the glorious task of guiding the jonin. Don't worry, I'll leave first. After all, there are a lot of preparations to be made to guide the jonin. Uchiha Shizu said solemnly to Bai Yu and Namikaze Minato with a serious face, and then his figure gradually disappeared. I found that you don't do any human work at all. Namikaze Minato said jokingly. Oh, I don't do human work. Okay, I'll go and talk to them and don't guide the jonin anymore. Bai Yu was immediately upset when he heard it and rolled up his sleeves to take action. Okay, stop it. Can't I treat you to a drink? Namikaze Minato said with a smile. You are a busy man and you treat me to a drink? There must be a conspiracy. Bai Yu said, as if he saw through everything, but Bai Yu really didn't believe that Namikaze Minato, a workaholic, would really have time to treat him to a drink. You can't hide anything from me. Namikaze Minato said with a helpless smile. I'm telling you, tell me what it is. I'll calculate whether this drink is enough. Bai Yu curled his lips and said, I want to personally guide Naruto to practice for a period of time. Kakashi can teach Naruto the will and the necessary qualities to become a ninja, but training requires a suitable teacher. Moreover, after I personally guide Naruto, I also hope that you can guide Naruto. After all, you are a recognized genius teacher in Konoha. During the time I guide Naruto to practice, I'll trouble you to go to the Hokage's office and deal with the affairs of the village with the third Hokage. Namikaze Minato said with a smile. Hey, you want me to do so many things after a drink? And what the hell is a genius teacher? When did I get this title? Bai Yu asked puzzled. Don't you know yet? That's right, you don't care about the gossip in the village. Haven't you noticed that every disciple you taught is a rare talent? Take Moonlight Gale for example. He was originally mediocre and could only use the technique of transmitting escape. But after your guidance, he became a shadow killer with a sword technique and the mysterious transmitting escape. Unless someone is much stronger than him, he will be a headache for his opponent. For example, although the Yuhi family is a family that mainly practices illusion, it is difficult for them to shine with the Uchiha clan around. After your guidance, although Yuhi Kuno's attainments in illusion are not as good as Uchiha Itachi's, she can also give the Uchiha clan a headache in terms of illusion. What other strange illusions are there? If it weren't for Uchiha Itachi's strong talent, Yuhi Kuno could probably be regarded as the best illusionist in Konoha. There is also Orochimaru, who keeps saying that he wants to be an excellent shadow play artist. According to Orochimaru, after a few years of growth, he will be a pillar of the new generation. So, you have the title of genius teacher. Namikaze Minato's words made Bai Yu stunned. It turned out that he had taught so many excellent students without realizing it. Chapter 342 Emergency. In the end, Bai Yu agreed to Minato Namikaze's request. This was nothing. After solving one problem, he ate at the Tachibana Yui Musashi clan and went home humming a little tune. When he got home, Bai Yu slapped his thigh. Oh, I forgot to ask how long it would take. Bai Yu was about to run to Minato Namikaze's house, but his figure stopped. It would be nice to have a clone, just to deal with the things in the village, and it wouldn't take a lot of effort. Bai Yu smiled when he thought of this, and he actually forgot about the shadow clone technique. With a thought, a ball of white mist appeared beside Bai Yu with a thud, and after the white mist, Bai Yu's clone appeared. This clone Bai Yu did not separate too much chakra, only about 1% of the original body, equivalent to a Chunin, and there was no war, so this was enough. Bai Yu gave a big order to the clone, and the clone nodded to Bai Yu, and then disappeared. After that, Bai Yu didn't have to worry about it. It was really easy to have a clone. As soon as Bai Yu returned home and took off his shoes, Uchiha Mikoto handed Bai Yu a pair of slippers. Bai Yu smiled and thanked him for his hard work. Tsunade, who heard the noise, came over with Balin in her arms. What's the matter? Why did you go for so many days? Tsunade asked. Bai Yu unsealed Balin and explained with a smile. It was about guiding the Jonin, and then I helped the Tachibana clan solve a problem. I was delayed for a few days. Oh. What trouble? I don't have much contact with the Tachibana clan. What other troubles do they have? Tsunade asked. The Tachibana clan has a genius boy, but some tragic experiences in his early years caused his mind to be confused by murderer Sora. For so many years, he has been immersed in an endless maze. As a messenger of light, I naturally led this lost lamb out. Bai Yu said proudly. TSK, really, how come you get more and more arrogant as you get older? I'm too lazy to listen to you bragging here. I'm going to help Mei Ming cook. We are having a seafood feast today. Uchiha Mikoto said unhappily, then turned and walked towards the kitchen. Tsunade rolled her eyes at Bai Yu, teasing Balin, and walked into the living room. Seeing this, Bai Yu shrugged his shoulders and said nothing. It wasn't too late yet, the children were not at home, only Balin was alone, and Bai Yu ran to Tsunade and teased Balin with her. Dad. Not long after, Baiki was seen running back in a hurry with blood all over his body. He ran and shouted, "What's wrong? What are you doing? How can you be so flustered? What's wrong with you?" Seeing Baiki's appearance, Bai Yu frowned, stood up, and scolded coldly. "Dad, I'm not panicking, no. Aren't she?" Baiki said hurriedly while panting. "King Cheng?" Exclamation mark. "Tell me, what happened to King Cheng?" Bai Yu appeared in front of Baiki in an instant, frowning and asking quickly. "My aunt is in the hospital. She is dying. Go and see her. Joa, Jinga, Heoa, Itachi, Izumi, Tachibana Yukayo and Meishiranu. They are all dying." Baiki fainted after he finished speaking. Kia. Tsunade saw this, put Balin aside, frowned, shouted, and hurried to Baiki to check. The more Tsunade checked, the paler her face became, and the more she checked, the more panicked she became. The heartbeat stopped, and the vitality was slowly decreasing. Tsunade suddenly ripped open Baiki's clothes, and her pupils shrank. A line of clear tears slowly flowed down this silly child. I saw a shocking wound on Baki's heart, which was still bleeding. It seemed that he ran back to report the news at all costs. Tsunade felt dizzy when she saw the blood on her hands. Looking at Baki with his eyes closed, an inexplicable fear made Tsunade almost collapse. Suddenly, Tsunade felt her body warm, and most of the fear in her heart was swept away instantly. Tsunade, don't worry, I'm here. An extremely gentle voice, full of magnetism, entered Tsunade's ears. Tsunade's helpless eyes slowly turned to look at the source of the voice. Then she saw that Bai Yu was looking at Tsunade gently. That sense of security. It was indescribable, just like a lonely boat suddenly appeared on the sea in a rainstorm, and it was even better like being flooded and about to suffocate. Someone pulled herself out of the water, and finally she could breathe freely. Husband. Woohoo. Kia. He. As a mother, although Baki was not born by her, for so many years, several children were the same as her own. Moreover, not only Kia, Jaoa, Jinga, and Haoa were all in the hospital. At this time, she was about to collapse with heartache. With me here, don't be afraid of anything. Bai Yu said firmly, holding Tsunade's waist with his left hand, and a burst of white light from his right hand. This is the purest yang power. The palm of his hand was pressed on Baki's heart. The next second, Baki's heart began to beat. The wound was so deep that the beating of his heart was visible to the naked eye. After a moment, the wound recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Baki's face also began to slowly regain some color. Tsunade, take care of Kia at home. I'm going to the hospital. Bai Yu said gently. At this moment, Uchiha Mikoto and Terumi Mei, who heard the voice, also ran out. Seeing Baki's miserable appearance and Tsunade's tearful face, they thought Baki was dead. Uchiha Mikoto was stunned for a few seconds, then closed her eyes and fainted. Terumi Mei was quick to support Uchiha Mikoto. Although Terumi Mei joined later, they also had a deep relationship. Tears flowed unconsciously, that strong feeling of heartache. Looking at Baki, it was as if her own child was gone. Kia, it's okay. Just a little weak. Tsunade, this house is handed over to you. Wait until I come back. Bai Yu had no time to explain. He just said it hastily and kissed Tsunade's red lips. The figure gradually disappeared. Tsunade felt the remaining temperature on her lips, and she also restored her queen's essence. She carried Baki to the sofa and cooperated with Terumi to put Uchiha Mikoto on another sofa. Terumi is not a weak woman, and her psychological quality is extremely strong. Tsunade looked at Baki, and Terumi looked at Uchiha Mikoto. The division of labor was clear and orderly. Moreover, Terumi was still holding Balin. Fortunately, it was in time. Otherwise, Tsunade's hemophobia, which had been hidden for many years, would definitely become serious to a terrifying level. Bai Yu, who rushed to the hospital quickly, said in his heart, he has not forgotten the shadow that Tsunade had caused because of the departure of his younger brother. At this time, Konoha Hospital became lively again. Nohara and Kato Shizune, two great Konoha medical experts, were called to the Konoha Hospital immediately to help Baking Cheng, Baiyao, Baiing, Baihao, Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Izumi, Tachibana Yukio, and Shiranome to hold on to their last breath. Because when they were sent here, their vitality was already running out. For Nohara and Kato Shizune, holding on to their last breath was victory. At this moment, they only hoped that Bai Yu could come quickly. Uchiha Shizu frowned deeply and stood quietly at the door of the emergency room. Uchiha Obito was also surprisingly quiet, but there were 2 lines of tears on Obito's face. Chapter 343, A powerful wife is a good thing. You should know that when Baihao was young, he used to be Uchiha Obito's little follower for a long time. Although Uchiha Obito is silly all day long, he is a very sentimental person. As time goes by, Uchiha Shizu begins to reveal a hint of murderous aura. Uchiha Itachi is definitely a reverse scale for him. Uchiha Shizu. Ordinary people cannot understand the heart of a brother control. Seeing Uchiha Itachi dying, Uchiha Shizu's heart is broken. Beside the two people, there is a group of people, Tachibana Rutake, Uchiha Fugaku, Uchiha Missy, Uchiha Sasuke. Tachibana Rutake and Uchiha Fugaku, as the heads of the clan, have strong psychological qualities and are waiting quietly on the side. Uchiha Missy dared not speak, but silently shed tears, clasped his hands together, and kept praying in his heart. Uchiha Sasuke looked coldly at the door of the emergency room, and the anger in his heart was estimated to be able to burn the entire Konoha. His most beloved brother, actually. Has anyone informed Bai Yu? Tachibana Yui Musashi suddenly remembered that Bai Yu had just left his home, and asked quickly. The voice was not loud, but in this quiet moment, it was extremely obvious. Uchiha Missy covered her mouth nervously. Uchiha Sasuke clenched his fists. Uchiha Fugaku frowned. Kia is back. I guess Teacher Bai Yu is on his way. Uchiha Obito said calmly. Everyone was relieved. Oh no. Kia is also injured, and it looks serious. Teacher Bai Yu hasn't come yet, will it? Uchiha Shizu frowned and said seriously. This time, including Uchiha Obito began to get nervous. I'll go and take a look. Uchiha Obito said, and was about to take action. No need, I'm coming. The voice came before the person. Not long after, Bai Yu appeared in everyone's sight. Teacher, Kia-he. Uchiha Shizu looked at Bai Yu and asked nervously. He's fine. Wait a moment, I'll go in and take a look. Bai Yu explained. Then he walked towards the door of the emergency room. Everyone was relieved to see Bai Yu. Uchiha Shizu nodded without saying anything. Bai Yu pushed the door of the emergency room, but it didn't open. He pushed a little harder, but it still didn't open. Teacher, that door doesn't push inward. It pushes to the side. Bang! As soon as Uchiha Obito finished speaking, Bai Yu had violently pulled the door down. Damn, it's so hard. Bai Yu waved his hand regardless, pulled the dust back, then threw the door to the side, and walked in quickly. It seems that the teacher is still very anxious. Uchiha Shizu saw this, and thought to himself. If Bai Yu knew what Uchiha Shizu was thinking, he would definitely scold him. Nonsense, how can I not be anxious? I have 4 children, 3 of them are in there, who wouldn't be anxious? The sound of the door being destroyed scared the medical ninja. They all thought it was an enemy attack. Chakra scalpels gathered one after another, looking at the inner door vigilantly. Bang bang, the door was pulled, but the person outside did not open it. Hula damn, are the doors pushed to the side? Bai Yu walked in cursing. Seeing Bai Yu, the medical ninja soul breathed a sigh of relief. Only Nohurulin and Kato Shizune were concentrating on observing the people on the beds, paying attention to whether their heartbeats and vital signs were normal at all times, so that they could deal with them in time if something happened. Bai Yu exhaled, and took a look at the people filling the emergency room. An uncontrollable anger rose in his heart. Lin, Shizune, you two go and rest first, relax. Bai Yu patted the highly nervous Nohurulin and Kato Shizune, and said softly. Nohurulin and Kato Shizune were startled, and when they saw Bai Yu, they breathed a sigh of relief. They didn't say anything, nodded, and went to the lounge to rest. Bai Yu sensed it, and found that Baking Cheng was the most seriously injured. Bai Yu used the purest yang power to save several people. When he saved Meisha Inu, Bai Yu was also in a trance. Several people's vitality was close to 0, and they were seriously injured, especially Baking Cheng, who was on the verge of life and death. If Bai Yu's yang power was not strong enough, it would be difficult to save her, even if she was a golden immortal. Moreover, the most fatal thing was that, if Baking Cheng's soul had not been strong enough, and broken into that state, she would have reported to the Pure Land long ago. It is possible that she would have died before reaching the Pure Land. Bai Yu used his soul power to repair the cracks in Baking Cheng's soul, and then he was completely out of danger. At this time, Bai Yu had no time to wait for several people to wake up. He staggered out of the emergency room with a pale face. It was not that Bai Yu's yang power was consumed too much, but that his soul power was consumed too much, which caused his pale face. Outside the emergency room, everyone saw Bai Yu's face was pale and sweaty. They came over to ask about the situation. Looking at everyone talking, Bai Yu felt a buzzing in his ears and his brain was about to explode. Don't ask. Everything is fine inside, Bai Yu said with difficulty, and waved his hand. However, with this wave of his hand, Bai Yu felt as if he had lost weight. He almost hit the wall without paying attention. Teacher, Uchiha Shizu and Uchiha Obito saw Bai Yu's appearance, and hurried over to support Bai Yu. Bai Yu shook his head, and waved his hand. Just after taking 2 steps, he felt his head sink, his feet lightened, and he fell to the ground. His eyes went black and he fainted. Teacher, Uchiha Shisu and Uchiha Obito were shocked when they saw Bai Yu fall. They hurriedly carried Bai Yu to a ward. Bai Yu's clone, who was far away in the Hokage's office, frowned, glanced in the direction of Konoha Hospital, and then continued to deal with things in the village. Not far away, Sarutobi Hiruzen was looking at the intelligence that had just been delivered with a dark face. When Bai Yu woke up, he saw Tsunade, Uchiha Mikoto, and Terumi Mei holding Balin, looking at him with red eyes. Are you all here? How long have I slept? Bai Yu felt his head was heavy, shook it for a while, and asked despite the discomfort. It's been 6 hours. Tsunade saw Bai Yu wake up, checked it quickly, and then said, 6 hours, not bad. It seems I have to go out for a while. Bai Yu knew what caused his soul power consumption, so he should absorb more souls. Bai Yu said with a wry smile. Where are you going? You just woke up, stay well. Uchiha Mikoto frowned and said unhappily. I have to go out. When I rescued King Cheng, my soul power was too much. I need to refine a few souls and replenish it. Otherwise, my head is heavy, and I don't know how long it will take to recover. Bai Yu said with a wry smile. Wouldn't it be better to get a few heinous people? Why do you have to go out? Terumi Mei said with a frown. Bai Yu heard it, and it was right. Before Bai Yu could speak, Terumi Mei put Balin in Bai Yu's arms. Don't move. Leave it to us. Tsunade lifted the hair that was covering Bai Yu's eyes and said softly. Uchiha Mikoto and Terumi Mei also nodded with a smile and followed Tsunade out of the ward. Bai Yu looked at the 3 beautiful backs leaving and smiled. It's a good thing that his wife is powerful. Chapter 344. Bai Yu looked at Balin in his arms, endured the discomfort, made faces, and teased Balin. Balin was so amused by Bai Yu that he laughed out loud. After waiting for a while, Tsunade, Uchiha Mikoto, and Terumi Mei came back with 3 fierce-looking stray ninjas, with bruised faces and limping. The 3 stray ninjas were tied together, and Tsunade pushed them in with a look of disgust. The 3 stray ninjas immediately piled up together. Husband, these 3 are stray ninjas who are causing trouble in the surrounding small villages. We 3 sisters saw them, and brought them back. Terumi Mei said with a smile. Thank you for your hard work, ladies. Why didn't you go to the prison to select people? Bai Yu first said hard work, and then asked. Are you crazy? There are all kinds of application documents, and we have to wait for approval. How can we have so much time? It's better to go out and catch a few back. Tsunade crossed her arms and said unhappily. That's right, picky. Uchiha Mikoto also said dissatisfiedly. I misunderstood. I'm just afraid that the ladies will be too tired. Really? Bai Yu hurriedly explained with a smile. At this moment, I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail. The 3 wandering ninjas heard it and immediately began to wail. I don't want to be here. I plead guilty. I want to go to jail and reflect on my mistakes. Yes, I want to reflect. Hey, I can only say sorry. Bai Yu said apologetically, and the Taika ring behind his head suddenly appeared, and the black yin power shone from his eyes. The chains formed by the yin power, as if they had eyes, fiercely nailed into the heads of the 3 wandering ninjas. Detain. Bai Yu snorted coldly. 3 souls were sucked into the Dharma Eye space. Balin, who was in Bai Yu's arms, looked at Bai Yu's operation innocently. The big eyes with clear black and white, the Dharma Eye suddenly flowed. 2 chains condensed in Balin's eyes, quickly passed through the wall, and also tied up a soul. Bai Yu saw this scene, and his pupils shrank. Good boy! Exclamation mark. You really know how to cause trouble for me. Bai Yu looked closely, and found that the soul that was tied up was a medical ninja from Konoha Hospital. This unlucky guy. Bai Yu smiled helplessly. The magic ring behind Bai Yu's head flashed black and white light again. The black yin power cut off Balin's chains, and then wrapped the soul with yang power, and sent it back to the original body. Outside Bai Yu's ward, a medical ninja suddenly felt black in front of his eyes, but then returned to normal, with a face full of question marks. What's wrong with me? Did I go too far last night? It seems that I have to restrain myself. The male medical ninja thought about it, then shrugged his shoulders, and continued his work. Lina, remember, you can't just detain other people's souls in the future, like you did just now, unless they are your enemies. Do you hear me? Bai Yu smiled dotingly, picked up Balin's face with his fingers, and said gently. Balin grabbed Bai Yu's fingers with his little hands and laughed happily. I don't know if you understand, but you must remember that you can't just hold other people's souls anymore. Bai Yu said gently again. That ball of black light just now, was it Liner holding other people's souls? Uchiha Makoto asked curiously. Yes, Liner is so smart. I only used it once in front of him, and he learned it. There happened to be a poor guy outside the door. Liner practiced on him. Bai Yu said softly. Ah. Then heal him quickly. Don't leave any sequelae. Uchiha Makoto said hurriedly after hearing it. It's been handled a long time ago. Don't worry, it's okay. I'm here. Bai Yu raised his head and said with a smile. You. Hurry up and get well, and brag about yourself. Tsunade said contemptuously. I need 30 more people like these 3. Bai Yu refined the souls of the 3 people in an instant, and then said embarrassedly. What? Tsunade, Uchiha Makoto, and Terumi Mei exclaimed in disbelief. 30? Okay, it seems that we really need to go find that old man Sarutobi Hiruzen. I don't know where Minato has gone. If he is here, we can go find him directly. Tsunade said helplessly, covering her white forehead. Well, the ones who are managing the village affairs now are my clones and Sarutobi Hiruzen. Bai Yu raised his hand and said weakly. Ah. Tsunade, Uchiha Makoto, and Terumi Mei exclaimed again. Damn it. Why didn't you say it earlier? I only knew that Minato was not here, and I thought that it should be old man Sarutobi who was in charge of Konoha's affairs. If I had known, we would have gone directly to the prison to pick him up. Terumi Mei raised her arm and eyebrows, and said with her arms folded in annoyance. Asshole, did you do this on purpose? Tsunade grabbed Bai Yu's hospital gown collar directly, put her face close to Bai Yu's face, and said coldly with great danger. Degrees, who knew that Bai Yu would just put his face over and kiss him. Tsunade blushed and immediately let go of Bai Yu. Haha, who could have known that something like this would happen before? The key is that you didn't ask. I thought you knew. Okay, thank you ladies for your hard work. Bai Yu said to the 3 women with a gentle face. HMPH. Tsunade, Uchiha Makoto, and Terumi Mei snorted lightly, and then walked out of the ward. Bai Yu didn't say anything when he saw this, and continued to tease Balin in his arms, until Balin was tired, and fell asleep in Bai Yu's arms. Bai Yu smiled, moved his body to the side, freeing up some space, put Balin next to him, covered him with a quilt, and watched Balin sleeping soundly. After settling Balin, Bai Yu waved his hand, and turned the 3 soulless people on the ground into dust. Balin slept for a long time. When Balin woke up, Tsunade, Uchiha Makoto, and Terumi Mei just came in. Terumi Mei took Balin, took out the prepared bottle from her handbag, and fed Balin milk. Balin must be starving after not eating for a long time. Hubby, come with us. Old man Sarutobi has arranged the place. We can just go there directly. Tsunade walked to Bai Yu, and was about to help Bai Yu change his clothes. Uchiha Makoto also came over, and supported Bai Yu like Tsunade. But Bai Yu really needed help at this time. As soon as Bai Yu stood up, his eyes went dark, and he almost fell down. It's really rare. I haven't seen you so weak for a long time. Tsunade said jokingly. TSK, wait a while until I recover, and you will know whether I'm weak or not. Bai Yu said domineeringly. Hearing Bai Yu's words, Tsunade, Uchiha Makoto, and Terumi Mei all blushed, but Terumi Mei was not convenient to attack, because she was holding Balin. Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto aimed at the soft flesh on Bai Yu's waist, and performed a soul-chasing pinch. Bai Yu grimaced in pain. Balin on the side chuckled again. Hearing Balin's laughter, Bai Yu and the others were stunned at first, and then they all smiled happily. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 345 Baking Cheng's cultivation level has dropped. With the help of Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto, Bai Yu put on his clothes. If his face was not a little pale, he would be a living dragon. Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto held Bai Yu's arms on the left and right to prevent Bai Yu from falling head heavy. After leaving the ward, Bai Yu knew what ward he was in, the high risk and critically ill isolation ward. Except for relatives, no outsiders are allowed to enter, and there are restrictions on relatives, and not too many people can enter. If it weren't for the fact that everyone in Konoha knew Bai Yu's 3 wives, it is estimated that so many people would not be allowed in. When he walked out of the protective door, he saw a group of people waiting here quietly. There is no way Bai Yu's current identity is destined to attract attention for every move. Seeing Bai Yu come out, the most excited are the Uchiha Fugaku family. Uchiha Fugaku is okay, mainly Uchiha Misaya. Basically the whole family has been saved by Bai Yu. Tachibana Yui Musashi also expressed his gratitude. It's really troublesome to deal with these guys who come to greet. Bai Yu's face is getting paler and paler. Tsunade on the side couldn't stand it anymore. Hey, you guys, my husband has just recovered from a serious illness. Didn't you notice that his face has turned pale again? If you don't let my husband rest, believe it or not, I'll let you feel what I used to be like. Tsunade stepped in front of Bai Yu, put her hands on her hips, and said fiercely, sure enough, this woman has always been like this. Some people who are familiar with Tsunade's temper have calmly started to walk out, and some people who are not familiar with Tsunade's temper, or those who have long forgotten Tsunade's temper, have also been pulled away by those calm people. In an instant, the only people gathered here were Baiki, Uchiha Izumi, Bai Yao, Uchiha Itachi, Bai Aang and Bai Heiyo, and Bai Qingcheng. Tachibana Yukayo and Shiranome were pulled away by Tachibana Yui Musashi. Of course, the greetings that should be exchanged have been finished. Although Tsunade has a bad temper, she still has some emotional intelligence. Tsunade, give you a thumbs up. Bai Yu shook his dizzy head, teased for a while, and gave Tsunade a thumbs up. What's the matter? Go quickly, the sooner you recover, the better. I don't have to worry about it all day. Tsunade hurried to Bai Yu's arm to support him, and said unhappily, Dad, Baiki walked in front of Bai Yu, looked at Bai Yu's pale face, and didn't know what to say. Okay, you go home first, I'm fine. Qingcheng, come with me. Bai Yu waved his hand, and said with a smile, got it, Dad. Baiki responded. Bai Qingcheng's face was a little bad, looked at Bai Yu, didn't say anything, and followed silently. Soon, Bai Yu came to the place arranged by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen was not there, but he placed 30 people who were extremely evil or dispensable here. Seeing this, Bai Yu also smiled, just to save trouble. The Teikai Dharma ring appeared behind his head, and the chains condensed by the imp force accurately pierced into the heads of 30 people, and collected their souls into the Dharma Eye space. At this time, Bai Yu had to calm down, and concentrate to refine the soul power. The souls of 30 people were still quite large. After all, the soul is not like energy, which is very troublesome. After a while, Bai Yu's face began to turn red, and his breath began to become more vigorous. The previous feeling of weakness has disappeared. As Bai Yu finished his work, he slowly opened his eyes, and a gleam of light shone from his eyes. How do you feel? Are you feeling better? Uchiha Mikoto was the first to run to Bai Yu and asked, looking at Tsunade, Terumi Mei, Uchiha Mikoto, and the concern in Bai Qingcheng's eyes. Bai Yu smiled and said, it's okay now. Tsunade, Mikoto, Mei, you go home first. I have something to say to Qingcheng. Bai Yu said gently. Tsunade and the other 2 girls nodded, and said nothing, and took Balin home. Let's go to another place. Bai Yu looked at the backs of Tsunade and the other 2 girls leaving, and said to Bai Qingcheng. Bai Qingcheng nodded. Bai Yu flew up, and Bai Qingcheng also flew away with Bai Yu. The 2 found a relatively high mountain near Konoha. On the top of the mountain, Bai Yu and Bai Qingcheng stood proudly. Tell me, what happened? Bai Yu frowned slightly, his face serious. Bai Qingcheng sighed. Black Dragon Wushan. Bai Qingcheng uttered 4 words lightly. It should be his men. Tell me more about it. I can think of a countermeasure. Bai Yu's eyes flashed with a trace of solemnity, looking at Bai Qingcheng and said seriously, you know, I have been running around in many places in this world to collect materials in order to refine a spirit whip. As soon as the spirit whip was made, I hurried back. I guess the awakening of your bloodline and the vision caused by the condensation of the dragon body have attracted the attention of Black Dragon Wushan. In this world, including the planes adjacent to this world, people have been sent to search and search. No, on my way back, I met 3 of Black Dragon Wushan's men, and also happened to meet Beiki and other children who sneaked out to play. According to my observation, these 3 guys ran to this world to hang out after searching in other planes, but I cleaned them up and left no trace. But after all, the 3 opposite sides are as powerful as me. In order to protect Beiki and others, I used the secret method of the Dragon Clan, so the injury was more serious. Baking Cheng said lightly. Bai Yu put his hand on Baking Cheng's head, used his magic power to explore, frowned, raised his hand quickly, and suddenly dropped it. Swoosh bang, Bai Yu gave Baking Cheng a chestnut on the forehead. Exclamation mark. What are you doing? It hurts. Baking Cheng said with great grievance. Tears came out of her eyes, and she rubbed her forehead desperately with both hands to relieve the pain. You silly girl. I risked my life to save you back then, and you don't value your life. According to the level of this world, your cultivation has dropped to the level of an elite jonin, right? It's permanent. How long will it take you to recover to your original state? You haven't recovered to the peak in the first place. You're pissing me off to death. Bai Yu said unhappily. Why are you so fierce? I'm still aggrieved. I'm like this, and you still hit me. Baking Cheng's eyes were full of mist, and she felt so aggrieved in her heart. I'm fierce. You know how to use the secret method of the Dragon Clan, but you don't know how to use the secret method of calling your own kind? If it was in time, your cultivation wouldn't have dropped so badly. Bai Yu looked at Baking Cheng with tears in her eyes, and his heart softened. He couldn't say anything. He flicked his sleeves and turned around, not looking at Baking Cheng, but looking at the scenery below the mountain. At that time, Joa and the others were almost beaten to death. How could I have so much time to think about it? You bad brother, stinky brother. You shouldn't have saved me at the beginning. Exclamation mark. For so many years, I protected you in the life before you were struck by lightning, although my memory is not complete. After you were struck, I used my magic power to protect your soul. I could only restore the lost magic power silently. It's not easy for me. Woo woo. Looking at Bai Yu's back, Baking Cheng's sadness in her heart all along also broke out completely at this moment. She cried, crying like a 90-pound doll. Chapter 346. Why did Baking Cheng's face turn red? Bai Yu couldn't bear to hear the crying behind him. He turned around and looked at the charming face squatting on the ground with tears in her eyes and pear blossoms in the rain. King Cheng, I'm sorry, I was a little anxious just now. How could I not know the difficulties you have endured? Don't cry. Brother is distressed. Bai Yu sighed, helped Baking Cheng up, pressed Baking Cheng's little head in his arms, gently touched her head, and said softly. His eyes showed her vicissitudes of life. Of course, Baking Cheng didn't see it. Under Bai Yu's comfort, Baking Cheng gradually stopped crying, but she still sobbed from time to time. Brother, I'm so scared. Baking Cheng gently left Bai Yu's arms, calmed down, and said softly. After Baking Cheng finished speaking, she sat on the ground with her hands around her slender calves. There was a trance in her eyes, as if she was recalling something. Bai Yu felt a little distressed when he saw Baking Cheng's appearance. Sitting next to Baking Cheng, he gently stopped her fragrant shoulders. With me here, what are you afraid of? Bai Yu said softly. Our father, mother, and our once wonderful childhood were destroyed by Helan Wooten. Seeing your rapid growth and growing stronger day by day, I look forward to the day when we can take revenge and continue that wonderful life. But this time, I feel helpless. The people under Helan Wooten are so strong. Do you think we still have hope? Baking Cheng said, leaning her head gently on Bai Yu's chest. Bai Yu's heart sank when he heard Baking Cheng's words. But even if he felt bitter, Bai Yu would not show it, because he was a man in the backbone of the Bai family. No matter how bumpy the road ahead was, Bai Yu had to bear it. This was a man's responsibility. Silly girl, I'm here for you. Don't forget, I'm the man who stood up again under the thunder. Although you protected me, it proves that I'm very lucky. Moreover, although I was almost killed by the black dragon, I was able to slip away from his hands before, which proves that I'm getting stronger and stronger. You have to have confidence in me, your brother. I can't guarantee that I will be able to beat the black dragon Wushan next time, haha. But I do have an idea. I don't know if you are willing to cooperate. Bai Yu hid the vicissitudes in his eyes and said with a smile, what idea? I will definitely cooperate. Baking Cheng said hurriedly when she heard it. Look, I married 3 wives. Tsunade gave me 2 children, Uchiha Makoto gave me 2 children, and Terumi Mei gave me 1. I have 5 children in total. When these children grow up, won't they be new forces? So, you also find a man, and then give birth to 8 or 10 children. Put together, there will be more than 10 new forces, and then train them. When the time comes, you will see that brothers fight tigers together, and fathers and sons fight in battles. The whole family works together, and its strength is invincible. Do you think we can defeat Black Dragon Wushan? Bai Yu said with a smirk. Brother, don't you know? Baking Cheng first glanced at Bai Yu with her beautiful eyes, and then asked. After asking, her face turned red, but Bai Yu didn't see it, because of the angle. Why did Baking Cheng's face turn red? Friends can imagine endlessly. Know what? Bai Yu was stunned when he heard it. Baking Cheng rolled her eyes first, then pursed her lips and said, brother, you are a mentally retarded person. After Baking Cheng finished cursing, she flew away and headed home. Oh my god. This girl. Bai Yu was not angry, but smiled. Looking at Baking Cheng's figure going away, he also flew back to the Bai mansion. When Bai Yu came back, the whole family was talking about what happened that day in the living room, including Baking Cheng. She had just returned not long ago, and the 3 Tsunade girls were asking her something. Seeing Bai Yu coming back, the 4 children, Bai Qi, Bai Yao, Bai Ying, and Bai Hao, sat down obediently around Bai Yu. I have heard everything from King Cheng. Starting tomorrow, Kia and Jaoa, you 2 should practice more. I will check your practice progress from time to time. There is only one test item, that is actual combat. Did you hear it clearly? Bai Yu said with a slightly serious expression. I know, Dad. Bai Qi and Bai Yao looked at each other and said in unison, with only unwillingness in their eyes. This incident was undoubtedly a blow to these 2 talented young men. Bai Qi and Bai Yao both thought that they were already very strong, but they didn't expect to be slapped in the face so quickly. What about me and Haoa? Daddy? Bai Ying looked at Bai Yu and asked. You guys, you'll know when you report to school tomorrow. I guess others have already met and become familiar with each other today. Bai Yu thought thoughtfully. Dad, what are you talking about? Did the village find its conscience and match a wife for a single ninja? Bai Hao's eyes lit up, and he grabbed Bai Yu's arm excitedly. Hearing this, Tsunade, Uchiha Makoto, Terumi Mei, and Baking Cheng all covered their mouths and laughed. Bai Yu's face was full of black lines. He couldn't help but give Bai Hao a chestnut on the forehead. Exclamation mark. Bai Yu didn't use much strength this time, but Bai Hao still felt that his soul was separated from himself for a few seconds. Then his forehead began to swell rapidly. Ah! Bai Hao wailed in pain, looking at Bai Yu with resentment. Calm down, this is your real dad, Bai Hao comforted himself in his heart. You seem quite smart. If you had a higher EQ, you would have had a partner long ago. Shut up, Bai Yu said unhappily. Seeing that Bai Hao was about to say something, he immediately shut up Bai Hao. There was no other way. Before Bai Lin was born, Bai Hao was the most favored one. He had many ideas and a strong personality. Although he was quite good in the face of major issues, he was sometimes not mature enough and a little childish. Bai Hao was full of words, but was choked back by Bai Yu. It was so uncomfortable. He had to sit there and not say anything. However, Bai Yu's words were heard by Tsunade and several other women, and their eyes lit up immediately. They were willing to dig up this kind of gossip. Dad, can you help me check my body? I feel like there is something wrong with me. Bai Qi asked weakly with a blushing face. Huh? Bai Yu was stunned when he heard this, and quickly put his hand on Bai Qi's shoulder. His magic power penetrated into Bai Qi's body, and began to check. After a while, Bai Yu frowned and said, Kia, do you feel anything? I checked and nothing happened, and the chakra is stronger than before. It's pretty good. Dad, look at the position of my lower abdomen. Am I pregnant? Baki's face became even redder after he said that. Exclamation mark. Ah. After hearing Baki's words, the whole family stared at Baki with shining eyes. Especially Bai. The meaning contained in his eyes revealed a hint of yards. Baki's face was almost bruised, and he lowered his head, secretly complaining in his heart. Chapter 347 The Warmth of Family. Bai Yu heard this, and put his hand on Baki's belly. After looking at it, Bai Yu laughed. Haha. Pregnant with an egg. Haha. Bai Yu said while laughing. Seeing Bai Yu's appearance, Baki was anxious. Dad, what's going on? I'm a man. How can I be pregnant with an egg? Baki said anxiously. Looking at Baki, who was anxious and blushing, Bai Yu calmed down and said with a smile on his face. It's okay, yours is not called an egg. That is the inner elixir. Not only you, but also those who practice the Bai family's Jaffa and the Uchiha clan will be like this after reaching a certain realm. This inner elixir is the essence of one's cultivation, and it concentrates all your chakra. This is a normal phenomenon. I also have it, and it is bigger and purer than yours. Yours is at most a millet grain, and mine is the size of a fist. Bai Yu explained with a smile. After hearing Bai Yu's explanation, Baki's heart fell to the ground. I was scared to death. I thought I was abnormal, Baki said with a sigh of relief, and his face gradually returned to normal. After having the inner elixir, the lifespan will also increase. You may not live that long for 1800 years, but you can still live for hundreds of years. If you practice to my level, you can probably live for thousands of years. This is just the benefit brought by the inner elixir and the level. If the Dharma Eye is upgraded to a certain level, not only will it be difficult for you to die, but you can also control the life and death of others. So, except for your own death, it will be difficult for you to die in the future. Bai Yu said afterwards. Because Bai Yu just found out that when mentioning lifespan, Tsunade, Uchiha Makoto, and Terumi Mei, their faces instantly became very ugly, because they are not like Bai Yu and Baki. They also want to accompany Bai Yu until old age, but after hearing what Bai Yu said later, their faces gradually recovered. If Bai Yu doesn't want them to die, they won't die. Don't forget that the Dharma Eye has a function that defies the heavens, that is, plundering vitality. This vitality is not as simple as healing, but a real life extension that defies the heavens. However, Baki and his level is too low, and they can't play with this ability. Baki, who learned the truth, began to smile, but soon it fell. Dad, when can I control life and death like you said? I don't want Quan Mei to die of old age in front of me. Baki said bitterly. Well, let me think about it. After hearing Baki's words, Bai Yu thought that he really had not studied the Dharma Eye carefully. Let me talk about it briefly first, and then I will sort out some information about the Dharma Eye. I have experienced several evolutions since I got the Dharma Eye. Unlike you, I can plunder vitality after I got the Dharma Eye, but it was only a few years at that time, then more than 10 years, and then a decade. Before the Teikai Dharma ring was condensed, it seemed to be hundreds of years, because it was not used much at that time, and now it should be about 1,000 years. Because it is not used now. Your Dharma Eyes are born and open naturally, so you need to evolve once, before you can have this ability. The specific way of evolution should be, to stimulate with energy. As for what kind of energy to stimulate, I'm studying it, but it should be, to condense the power of yin and yang, which is the method recorded in the Bai family's Jaffa, to condense the power of yin and yang in the eyes. When I sort it out, I will give it to you. Bai Yu thought about it and said, is that so? Then I won't be nervous. Dad, just come and do it. Haha. With Dad here, I'm not nervous at all. Haha. Baki laughed excitedly when he heard it. Dong Bai Yu gave Baki another chestnut! Exclamation mark. Hahaha. Big brother, I can't believe that you have also been blessed by Dad. Hahaha. Seeing this, Bai Yu couldn't help but burst into laughter and said in a suicidal way. Haha, yes. Heyoa, I'll talk to you later. No matter where you are, I will have a long talk with you. Baki rubbed his forehead with one hand and said to Bai Yu gloomily. Haha. Hiccup. Beiheo was stunned. While playing, everyone went back to their own rooms to sleep. Beiki kept his promise, entered Beiheo's room, and then casually set up a soundproofing array. Baking-cheng returned to his home. However, Baking-cheng did not continue to stay in front of the computer to play games as usual, but began to practice. There was no way, because of the secret method, the cultivation level had deteriorated significantly, and he had to practice again bit by bit. The next day, Beiheo, with a bruised face, ran to Beiheo's arms crying. "Second sister. Woo woo. Look at what my elder brother did to me. Help me get treatment, otherwise I won't be able to go out." Beiheo cried with a pig-headed face. "Haha. Why didn't you look for me last night?" Beiheo rolled her eyes at Beiki, who was coming down from upstairs with a smug look, and looked at Beiheo, unable to help but laugh. "That bastard locked me in the room. If it weren't for my wit, I guess I wouldn't be able to get out until now. Woo woo." Beiheo cried so sadly. "Be good, don't cry. Second sister will treat you right away." Beiheo touched Beiheo's head, and then a green light emanated from her hand. After a while, Beiheo returned to normal. Trojan horse. Second sister is the best. Unlike a certain bastard. Mua. *3. Beiheo kissed Beiheo and ran happily to have breakfast. At this time, Beiki also walked to Beiheo with a smile on his face. "Brother, why are you so mean? You beat Heo like this." Beiheo looked at Beiki unhappily and said, "Feeling sorry? This stinky boy. I still remember that when we were little, our father trained us devilishly. When I was hung on a tree, you didn't feel sorry for me." Beiki said with a smile. "How can it be the same? You are a brother." Beiheo glared at Beiki and said, "Okay, I get it." Beiki poked Beiheo's forehead carelessly. He laughed and went to have breakfast. "Stinky brother." Beiheo rubbed his forehead, cursed in a low voice, then smiled and walked to the dining table. Beiying, who witnessed everything upstairs, had a smile on her lips. This is the feeling of home, the irreplaceable warmth no matter what. Beiki and Beiheo listened to Beiyu's words, pulled Uchiha Raizumi and Uchiha Itachi, and went to the dragon group to practice every day. However, there was a small burden among the four people, that is Uchiha Sasuke. Originally, Uchiha Sasuke was supposed to follow Hatake Kakashi for daily guidance, but because Uzumaki Naruto was taken away by Namikaze Minato, he was delayed. Beiying and Beiheo also gradually matured under the guidance of Uchiha Shisu. This maturity was not the maturity of character, but the maturity on the road of ninja. Chapter 348 Class 9. 2 months later, Beiying and Beiheo, as always, came to the gathering point of Team 9, waiting for Uchiha Shisu's arrival. "Third sister, do you think we should do the mission today, or continue to practice? We have been practicing with brother Shisu for so long, it's time to do the mission, right? You always use the excuse of not having enough people, and don't do any mission." Beiheo and Beiying sat on the tree branch board. Beiheo said to feebly, "You will know when the time comes. Why are you in such a hurry?" Beiying said calmly, "How can I not be anxious? I saw Team 6 and Team 8 go on missions yesterday. It is said that they have completed several missions." Beiheo said, while pouting while lying on the tree branch. "Then why don't you take a look at Team 7? Sakura practices on her own every day, and Sasuke follows brother Itachi to the dragon group every day. I don't know where Naruto was taken by the Hokage." Beiying rolled her eyes at Beiheo and said softly, "TSK, I thought that Sasuke, this genius, and Naruto, together with Sakura, who is in a circular relationship, would have something fun to watch, but I didn't expect it." Beiheo put his hands behind his head and said uninterested, "Then what are you looking at, Heoa?" At this moment, Uchiha Shisu's face appeared in Beiheo's sight. Beiheo was startled and accidentally rolled down from the tree. Bang! Hiss! "Brother Shisu, can you make a sound? I'm scared to death." Beiheo got up from the ground, rubbed his waist, and said with dissatisfaction, "Okay, Jinga, come down. Starting today, our 9th class is full. Tachibana Yaing, please introduce yourself to everyone." Uchiha Shisu said with a smile, and then his face began to become serious. Hearing Uchiha Shisu's words, Beiying obediently jumped down from the tree. The way she landed was completely different from Beihei's, just like a fairy descending to the mortal world. At this time, a stern boy walked out of the woods not far behind Uchiha Shisu. The boy held a single-edged long sword in his arms, and his long hair was tied behind his head, but a small tuft was left on his forehead. The boy's stern eyes saw Bai coming down from the tree, and a strange feeling gathered wildly in his heart, and continued to grow. It was as if Uchiha Shisu and Beihei had disappeared. In the whole sight, no, it should be said, that the whole world, there was only Bai. With a calm and sweet face and thin lips, like a fairy, she flew to the ground, and the breeze blew her hair. She was looking at herself. Ahem. Because of her previous experience, Ju Yang was somewhat reluctant to contact people. Ju Yang coughed twice without making a sound, and then walked to the side of Uchiha Shisu. Bai, who has always been known as a cold and ice goddess, also shrank her pupils when she saw Ju Yang. Ju Yang is very handsome, with a cold temperament, which makes the girls fascinated by him. However, what attracts Bai the most is a look in Ju Yang's eyes that is inconsistent with his age. Deep vicissitudes, loneliness, and the grief that cannot be concealed. This should be a boy with a story, right? Bai said in her heart, but did not show it. At this moment, the beautiful picture in the minds of the two people was broken by a voice. Hey, is this guy my companion? Brother Shisu. Beihei put his hands on his hips, looked at Ju Yang, and asked Uchiha Shisu. That's right. Uchiha Shisu said with a slight smile. Beihei put his hands on his hips, squinted his eyes, walked to Ju Yang with a cuckold step, and looked at him from top to bottom, and from bottom to top. That kind of eyes made Ju Yang frown slightly, but because this person might be his future companion, Ju Yaojing did not move. Okay. Beihei's sudden shout startled everyone, especially Ju Yang, who was so frightened that his hand unconsciously grasped the hilt of the sword. Welcome to join us. My name is Beihei. Beihei grinned, stretched out his hand to Ju Yang, and said with a smile. Ju Yang looked at Beihei's smile, and also imitated Beihei, grinning slightly, and held Beihei's hand. Thank you, my name is Ju Yang. Haha. You look so ugly when you smile. It's better to be a little cold and more domineering. Beihei shook his hand vigorously and said jokingly. Hearing this, Ju Yang stopped laughing immediately, but her face was slightly red. After all, it was the first time for her to laugh in so many years. A little embarrassed. Hey stop it. Hello, my name is Bai. Sorry, my brother prefers to joke. Welcome you. Bai said to Beihei unhappily, then looked at Ju Yang with an apologetic smile, and said with a smile. This smile. So sweet. So warm. Thank you, my name is Ju Yang. Ju Yang said with an awkward smile again. Bai couldn't help but chuckled when she saw this, and let go of her hand, and lifted the corner of Ju Yang's mouth. Ju Yang felt the temperature on her face and was stunned. It looks much better this way. Smile more in the future. After Bai finished speaking, she stood beside Beihei in a chic manner, as if nothing had happened. But her heart also beat twice more. Bai's hands were so warm and soft. Ju Yang said lightly in her heart. Okay. Ju Yang is a genius of the Juyu clan, so I declare that the training session is officially over. Uchiha Shisu didn't think much of it. This kind of friendly spirit is needed between companions. He said with a smile. It's finally over. Brother Shisu, when are we going to do the mission? Beihei shouted happily. We have a mission today. Uchiha Shisu said mysteriously. What mission? Beihei said with his eyes shining. Gather here at 5 p.m. You'll know then. Uchiha Shisu said, and then he disappeared. Oh my god, what is this? You don't explain it clearly. Really? Old Dying, what mission do you think Brother Shisu wants to take us on? Beihei put his hand on Ju Yang's shoulder and said casually. Old Dying? Ju Yang was a little stunned when he heard someone call him that for the first time. Yes. Think about it, we are companions. Although we meet for the first time today, we will be companions for the rest of our lives. Won't we be old Dying when we grow old? Beihei explained very seriously. Got it, Leo Heyo. Ju Yang thought for a while and said to Beihei with a serious face. What are you doing? Why are you so serious all of a sudden? Seeing Ju Yang's expression, he asked in confusion. Huh? Isn't a lifetime a big deal? Shouldn't you be more serious? Ju Yang was stunned and asked. That's right, haha. Let's go to Konoha amusement park. I haven't been there for a long time. We have time. Bai Yu didn't think much about it and ran away with the stern and confused Ju Yang. Bai Yu, who was careful, had already seen many problems in this simple conversation. This Ju Yang was not cold in character, but he had not communicated with people much. He looked cold, but he was still very warm in his heart. Bai Yu smiled slightly and caught up with Bai Yu to go to Konoha amusement park together. Chapter 349 Class 7. Just when the 9th team was officially full, in a dense forest, Hatake Kakashi surprisingly appeared, but he was hiding on a treetop, reading a book, squinting his eyes, and laughing secretly from time to time. Not far away, Uchiha Sasuke, with a stern face, stood there proudly, looking unhappy. What is this? He came early in the morning to say that the 8th team would assemble, but he didn't show up. Uchiha Sasuke said in his heart with extreme dissatisfaction. Next to him, there was Hiruno Sakura, who looked like a fangirl. Ha 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 ha. Inobo, let's see how you can snatch Sasuke from me this time. See, I'm only less than 30 miles away from Sasuke. Ha ha ha. The second devil personality hidden in Hiruno Sakura's heart roared wildly. Hey, Sakura. Long time no see, you have become beautiful again. A voice appeared in Hiruno Sakura's ears. Ah, Sasuke. Long time no see, you are still so arrogant. Hearing this, Uchiha Sasuke frowned. Hiruno Sakura also frowned. Damn it. The world of two of us, Sasuke and I, has been destroyed by you, said Hiruno Sakura in her heart. Uchiha Sasuke and Hiruno Sakura knew without thinking that it was Uzumaki Naruto who had returned. As expected, Uzumaki Naruto's face, which was always smiling, appeared in front of the two of them. Moreover, at this time, Uzumaki Naruto was only 10 centimeters away from Hiruno Sakura, and the distance was getting closer. At this moment, Uzumaki Naruto was excited. It was almost there. It was almost there. It was almost there. I would accept being beaten up! Exclamation mark. However, Hiruno Sakura's eyes were filled with fear at first, then gradually calmed down, and then there was a burst of anger. Idiot. Bang. Ahaha. Sakura, you are still so cruel. Can't you be gentler? The next second, Uzumaki Naruto crawled out of the bushes, groaned in pain, and then said helplessly, taking off the leaves on his head. I don't know why, but Uchiha Sasuke felt a little uncomfortable when he saw Uzumaki Naruto trying to kiss Hiruno Sakura just now, but he felt so good when he saw Uzumaki Naruto being beaten up. Sasuke, I tell you, I've become stronger again. Be careful next time. Uzumaki Naruto burst out from the bushes, walked in front of Uchiha Sasuke, and said arrogantly, the last one. Uchiha Sasuke turned his face to the side and spat out 3 words coldly. Damn it. Bastard. I want to beat you as soon as I see you. Uzumaki Naruto also said indignantly. The last one. Uchiha Sasuke said coldly again. Yo, it seems that you are all very energetic. A magnetic voice came from a tree not far away. Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto, and Hiruno Sakura all looked at the source of the voice. It was Hatake Kakashi, who was standing on the tree and looking at them. Seeing Kakashi, Uchiha Sasuke couldn't help but think of what Uchiha Itachi told him. If he wanted to become stronger, he could find 2 people. One was Lord Bai Yu, and the other was Hatake Kakashi. Teacher Kakashi. Hiruno Sakura said respectfully. Teacher. Uchiha Sasuke also said coldly. Although his tone was a little cold, it was still quite polite. But Uzumaki Naruto was different. Hey, so you are my guiding Jonin. Kakashi teacher, have you had breakfast? Uzumaki Naruto asked with a smile. This idiot. Didn't the teacher say that we were not allowed to eat this morning? Hiruno Sakura rolled her eyes when she heard this and thought to herself. Well, that's me. I've eaten. Hatake Kakashi said leisurely. Well. Hearing what Hatake Kakashi said, Hiruno Sakura and Uchiha Sasuke frowned. Why don't you let us have breakfast? Look, I tricked you out. Why don't you let us have breakfast, but you eat it secretly? Uzumaki Naruto's face flashed a trace of success, and then he said decisively, "Well said. Because I'm stronger than you, so I have the final say. If I don't let you eat, you are not allowed to eat, but I didn't say I don't eat." Hatake Kakashi said coldly. "Strength!" Exclamation mark. Although Uchiha Sasuke had no expression on his face, his fists were clenched. "Huh, you guy. I didn't expect you to be such a person." Uzumaki Naruto's face was also full of anger. "In the ninja world, strength is supreme." Hatake Kakashi said coldly. "Okay. It seems that you should know each other, so I won't say any more nonsense. Today is the official full class of class 7. I don't care about other classes, but in my class, there is an assessment before entering the class. Those who pass will stay, and those who fail will return to the ninja school and retake it." Hatake Kakashi said seriously. "Come on, I'm not afraid of you." Uzumaki Naruto said confidently. "You know, Minato Namikaze has trained him a lot in the past 2 months. Although he didn't teach him any ninjutsu, Uzumaki Naruto's use of chakra can be said to have improved more than 10 times compared to 2 months ago." Dinglingling Hatake Kakashi took out 2 bells and hung them on his waist. "The assessment is to take these 2 bells from me, no matter what means you use. Those who don't get them will not only have no food to eat, but will also be trapped in the tree and sent back to the ninja school." Hatake Kakashi said coldly. "Start now." Hatake Kakashi came to the center of the venue and shouted. But in his heart, he thought that these children were still very naive. They could have started just now. Hatake Kakashi couldn't help but recall the scene when the dragon group was selected. Multiple shadow clone technique. Uzumaki Naruto was the first to perform a ninjutsu. Seeing the overwhelming Uzumaki Naruto, it made people feel numb. But who is Hatake Kakashi? It was Konoha. Lightning flashed, and thick white mist rose around. But at this time, Uchiha Sasuke seized the opportunity, and his Sharingan quietly opened. Taking advantage of the Sharingan, Uchiha Sasuke took advantage of the chaos, and kicked the bell on Hatake Kakashi's waist away. As luck would have it, one bell flew to Hiruno Sakura, who didn't move. The other bell was caught in Uchiha Sasuke's hand. Uzumaki Naruto was stunned. Completely stunned. Hatake Kakashi smiled behind his mask. He quickly tied Uzumaki Naruto to the stump. He placed 2 lunch boxes not far away. "Hiruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke has got the bell. You can eat or stay. It's getting late. Let's eat. After dinner, I will take Uzumaki Naruto back to school. Remember, you are not allowed to give food to Uzumaki Naruto. He is not qualified to eat. And this is a mission. Ninjas should focus on the mission. You must abide by the ninja code." Hatake Kakashi said coldly and disappeared. The scene instantly cooled down. Uzumaki Naruto stared at the ground blankly, and Hiruno Sakura and Uchiha Sasuke were also slow to act. Chapter 350, Live Donkey Combination. "Sasuke-kun, what should we do?" Hiruno Sakura looked at the distraught Uzumaki Naruto, and felt a little bit sorry for him. She walked to Uchiha Sasuke and asked softly, "Eat?" Uchiha Sasuke frowned and said coldly. Hiruno Sakura and Uchiha Sasuke silently opened the lunchbox. I don't know if Hatake Kakashi did it on purpose. The lunchbox he prepared was extremely rich and fragrant. The fragrance seemed to have eyes and floated into Uzumaki Naruto's nose. Gurgle. Uzumaki Naruto's stomach growled. Uzumaki Naruto blushed but didn't say anything. He just lowered his head and didn't speak. Uchiha Sasuke ate the lunchbox for a while. He didn't know what happened. Hearing the growl of Uzumaki Naruto's stomach, he couldn't eat anymore. He glanced at Uzumaki Naruto, who was lowering his head. Sasuke frowned and walked to Uzumaki Naruto. "I can't eat anymore. I haven't touched this. I'll give it to you." Uchiha Sasuke said coldly. "Sasuke." Uzumaki Naruto suddenly looked up and called out Uchiha Sasuke's name in disbelief. "I can't eat it. If I eat it, you will be disqualified." Uzumaki Naruto lowered his head and said in a deep voice, "Naruto, you can eat my lunchbox too." Hiruno Sakura saw that Uchiha Sasuke did this, so she also imitated Uchiha Sasuke and said to Uzumaki Naruto with a smile, "Sakura, I can't eat it. You two can't be harmed because of me." Uzumaki Naruto first looked at Hiruno Sakura with emotion and then said seriously, Little did he know that Hiruno Sakura did this because of Uchiha Sasuke. Hiruno Sakura thought that if Uchiha Sasuke thought that she had no love and companionship because of this incident and abandoned her, it would be too bad. HMPH. Trouble. Uchiha Sasuke frowned and said, then put the lunchbox on the wooden stake above Uzumaki Naruto's head, then pinched Uzumaki Naruto's mouth with his left hand, picked up a little food with his right hand, used a little force with his left hand to pry open Uzumaki Naruto's mouth, and threw it in with his right hand. Then he quickly pushed Uzumaki Naruto's chin with his left hand. Then he tapped Uzumaki Naruto's throat. Cough cough. Sasuke, can you be gentler? Uzumaki Naruto was very touched in his heart, but he was an optimist, and on the surface he still said with dissatisfaction, oh my god. Sasuke, why don't you feed me? I don't mind your rudeness. Damn Naruto. Hiruno Sakura smiled sweetly on the surface, but in her heart she was roaring wildly. Hiruno Sakura gently put the food in Uzumaki Naruto's mouth to prove to Uchiha Sasuke that she, Hiruno Sakura, was a virtuous and good girl. But what can I do? Exclamation mark. Uchiha Sasuke didn't see her at all. Just when the two were feeding frantically, Hatake Kakashi suddenly appeared. You. How dare you disobey my order? I now declare. Hatake Kakashi's voice was very cold. Hiruno Sakura's face was pale. Uzumaki Naruto's face was guilty. And Uchiha Sasuke was still cold and cool. You passed. Congratulations. Hatake Kakashi said with his hands on his hips and a smile. Hiruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, and Uzumaki Naruto were all confused. What's going on? Exclamation mark. Teacher Bai Yu once said, people who break the rules are trash. However, people who don't cherish their companions are even worse than trash. So although you are trash, you are not even worse than trash. Hatake Kakashi said seriously. Teacher Kakashi, didn't you say that before? What? Hiruno Sakura's mind was still confused. Teacher, if Sakura and I didn't give Naruto our lunchboxes, would we all be eliminated? Uchiha Sasuke asked coldly. Sakura. Sasuke finally called me Sakura. You can be jealous, Inobo. Haha. From the inner world of Hiruno Sakura. Well, that's right. Because my concept is the same as that of Mr. Bai Yu, I would rather be a waste than be worse than a waste. Hatake Kakashi nodded and said seriously. Damn it, I have been tied up for so long, and it turned out to be like this. Uzumaki Naruto said dissatisfiedly. There are 2 bells in total, and you don't have one. It's good to be tied up for a while. If it was Mr. Bai Yu, I guess you should be hung on the tallest tree in Konoha this time, floating for 3 days and 3 nights. Hatake Kakashi said this, and couldn't help but think of Uchiha Obito. Okay, I declare that Team 7 is officially full. Let's go down and take pictures, and then I'll treat you to a big meal. The mission will start tomorrow. Hatake Kakashi's attitude at this time is completely different from before. Now Hatake Kakashi has the demeanor of a top-notch teacher. I want to eat ramen. Ramen. Uzumaki Naruto shouted excitedly when he heard it. Whatever, I don't have any requirements for food. As long as it's not natto and sweets. Uchiha Sasuke said coldly and coolly. Me too, I don't have any requirements for food. It turns out that Sasuke doesn't like natto and sweets, but sweets are delicious. Hiruno Sakura said with a smile first, and then secretly remembered Uchiha Sasuke's preference in her heart. Okay, then let's go eat ramen. Hatake Kakashi said helplessly. He wanted his wallet to be empty for once, but he didn't expect to just eat ramen. But after taking the picture, when Uzumaki Naruto was in place, and picked up the chopsticks, Hatake Kakashi's dead fish eyes began to stare at Uzumaki Naruto and the increasingly high mountain of bowls next to Uzumaki Naruto with more and more danger. Did the clone disappear? It turns out that Minato is back. Bai Yu, who was teasing Balin leisurely, suddenly had some more memories in his mind. Then he muttered to himself twice, and continued to tease Balin. The days returned to peace again. These newly promoted genin in the village were full of energy and brought a lot of joy and convenience to Konoha village every day, because those accumulated D-level tasks, or tasks of lower levels, finally had coolies to complete. This made the civilians of Konoha very happy, and Konoha regained its vitality. This vitality came from the passionate master and apprentice duo, Might Guy and Rock Lee. Ever since the day Might Guy learned about Rock Lee's experience, he felt very sympathetic to Rock Lee and felt that Rock Lee was his second self. So he emptied his wallet and dressed Rock Lee like himself. The original mushroom-headed Rock Lee disappeared, replaced by a refreshing short hair, a resolute man. But this man is still thin. Every morning before the cocks crow, the passionate slogans of the two masters and apprentices resound throughout Konoha. Every night after the dogs fall asleep, Konoha is still filled with slogans of hard training. So, under the leadership of Bai Yu, the combination of Might Guy and Rock Lee has a credible name, the Live Donkey Combination. The reason is that these two people are more like animals, and their passion for training is comparable to that of a wild donkey that has broken free from its reins. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.